all my life. In fact, that's going to come up later in the program. Look, there's a lot of, it is. I've got a whole theory around it. I can't wait to release that into the world. So, lots of important stuff in the first hour, but really I want to talk about the second hour. And the second hour, the first hour, plan. Yeah, important stuff. Who's going to be the leader of the free world, that kind of stuff, okay? We'll win it. Yeah, Saudi Arabia, Native Americans, fighting weapons, important stuff. Okay, but in the second hour, we have a story of someone who leaked a nude photo of a 70-year-old and spent time in prison for it. That is fascinating. She happens to be a Playboy playmate. Is North Korea, by the way, going to kill us all? That's in the first hour. That's very important. 500,000 cows have been killed. That's the second hour. No, but by us, we are the cow killers. But the story I'm referring to is the beef with them. Where's the beef? Dead. Okay, no, that's also inappropriate. Okay. Okay. So terrible. Yeah, the worst joke. You can't then make it another. No, but I said dead. I said dead as a layer to the joke.
See, he's a nice guy. He saw me thinking with that joke, and he's like, "No, I'm wrong with you."
It's sore, John. It's sore. Okay. Anyway, the one I'm referring to is how some Asian Americans, I think specifically Vietnamese, are upset that a white chef has told people how to eat pho. Okay, and I have, believe it or not, very strong opinions on that. And that I do not. Don't worry about it. I'm going to make up your lack of strong opinions on that. Because I have a new category of people that I am going to.
Your new category of people?
Yes. In fact, two categories. Yeah. And it might change the world. Let's see what happens. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm saying it might. Yeah. Okay. Having said all that, let's get started. John. I forgot to introduce everyone. Batman Quince, Michael Brooks, I told you about John Idarola. You guys know us. All right, let's move forward. John, Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Big news. Let's talk. The House is, wow, that shot is really close to me. Ooh, I'm scared. The House has now joined the Senate by passing a bill that will allow the families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia in U.S. courts. Now, the Senate passed a version of the bill back in May of this year. In the House, though, the legislation passed unanimously by voice vote to thunderous applause. Generally, you only use thunderous applause when you want to imply that the government did something fascistic. But anyway, yes, there was thunderous applause. And so we've said before, back when the Senate passed this earlier this year, that the White House isn't in favor of this legislation. I mean, a lot of people in the past haven't been, but Obama is one of them. And the White House put out a statement saying, "We have serious concerns with the bill as written. We believe there needs to be more careful consideration of the potential unintended consequences of the enactment before the House considers the legislation. We'd welcome opportunities to further engage with the Congress on that discussion." So we don't know at this point if he will attempt to veto the legislation. But those who support it in the House are saying that they can then easily override the veto, passing the two-thirds bar. And considering that it passed unanimously, they might have something to that. Although, not necessarily, but that gives Chuck Schumer some ammo when he says, "I think we can easily get the two-thirds override if the president should veto." Now, the reason that this is necessary, why are we talking about this so long after 9/11? Why couldn't they already do it? Well, under current U.S. law, victims may sue a country designated as a state sponsor of terrorism, like Iran. This bill would allow citizens to sue countries that don't currently have that designation, like Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so Ben, I'm curious, why not necessarily? Because I thought pretty necessarily it's unanimous. There's no point in video.
Generally, nobody wants to be on the side of the not allowing 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia. I haven't read a thing about it, but plenty of people might say, "But I won't override a presidential veto." So once it becomes clear that
especially
once it becomes clear it's going to pass, do I want to be one of 110 people to vote against this? No, I'll just vote for it. Fine. Well, thunderous applause. Hey, we're all for it. Then the president vetoes it, and then I won't. It's less damage to then uphold the presidential veto.
Yeah, and his veto has never been overruled.
Yeah, I mean we don't override vetoes with any consistency in this country.
Yeah, no.
That's all. I don't go any stronger than not necessarily. I'm sure because there's no way it actually passed unanimously. But no, what's the point of being one of 27 people to go, no, you 9/11 victim, I'm not going to allow you to sue a country where 19 of the or 15 of the 19 hijackers are from.
Yeah, and by the way, it was by a voice vote. That's why we don't. They didn't go on the record.
Right.
It's easier that way. In case they want to later come back and say, no, I got to vote with the president.
Yeah, that's like saying everyone at church sang. Yeah, some of them are singing, I guess.
But I think he's a lame duck. It's an easy point against Saudi Arabia. No one likes Saudi Arabia. It's an easy hit to make. I think what's interesting is when you become president, how this just changes by definition. Like, Saudi Arabia is like Pakistan, right? They play some type of double game on terrorism issues, right?
Yeah.
But when you're president, all of a sudden you're probably not to justify Obama's position, but all of a sudden when the Saudis come and they say, we'll actually pull, cooperation on some operation somewhere that nobody knows
Parish
about.
doctor is now up to date.
Or, reveal this or that thing that's embarrassing. I think obviously the stakes are different, and it's an easy way to score points. But conversely, is Obama, he already wants to go to the TPP. Is he going to expend capital like Saudi Arabia with 7 months left as well? With that argument, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and there's one other element to this that must be taken into account, but it's not easy to take into account in the middle of thunderous applause, which is we might then get countersued for the bombings we have done all over throughout the world.
We haven't.
You think we probably never hit anyone innocent, so we're probably safe there. So they don't want to unleash all that, and then we're going to get bogged down in court. And those are the the details as to why they wouldn't want to do this. Now, having said that, I got no love for Saudi Arabia. I don't know if people know this, but we're against them.
Really?
I've heard the opposite,
I'm actually a little. I'm into Saudi Arabia.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I'll do the Saudi flank.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
Very strong defender of Saudis.
Wow. Okay. That would be
very much not. But to that point, no, I'm not a defender of Saudis, but as you know, I am not a defender of thunderous applause, like through the air. It's gross. That thing is gross.
Yeah.
It's gross. And it is complicated, and it's so complicated that most people don't know, and I'm certainly no expert, but I know it's complicated, and I know that it's not an accident that every president recognizes that complication, and that there are obvious unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing? If you want to hit Saudi Arabia, like something we're letting them get away with right now to appease them because of things we've done to piss them off, what they're doing in Yemen.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an atrocity.
Over 10,000 dead.
And that is a serious thing, that this kind of silly questionable right.
And one of the things that makes it additionally silly is that they are doing some of that damage, at the very least, with weapons that we've sold them. I forget the stat that I read this morning. Either 115 billion, I believe, in weapons sold.
That's like a plane.
That's like nothing. Yeah. You get a couple cruise missiles, maybe one boat. But yeah, $115 billion sold specifically during the Obama years, specifically to Saudi Arabia. Which is one reason that I think that Obama could afford to give them the middle finger, because they still desperately want to buy our weapons. I don't think they're going to back off of that. But it is a complicated situation. As you alluded to, 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. I thought they were from Baghdad. That's weird. But the 9/11 Commission report, parts of which had been held from public view for years and years and years, but were now revealed, still say that neither the Saudi government as an institution nor its senior officials funded the attack, which does not mean that Saudi Arabia did not provide support to the terrorists, but it does mean that it's difficult to pin it on the government, which would, of course, be the thing that you were trying to sue if this were to be passed. So it's a complicated situation. Obviously, nobody wants to go against the victims of, the families of the victims of 9/11, but it's complicated.
So there's another part here that a lot of people don't see, which is why a lot of the neocons are against this vote. So John Bolton, one of the top neocons, came out against it. Michael Mukasey, who was Attorney General under George W. Bush. All the Bush guys are against it. Of course, they love the Saudis. They protect the Saudis right after 9/11, etc. I don't know why Obama doesn't expose. I know why, because he's not that guy. But he should have a secret agent for Saudi Arabia. Yeah. No, if I was him, I would have exposed the Bush ties to Saudi Arabia in much greater detail. You don't have to cover for them, but he does. He loves covering up for the Bush administration. It's family. Anyway, part of that is that what almost nobody talks about, which is the secret Israel-Saudi alliance. And so the reality is the Israelis have picked a side. They think the Sunnis are less damaging than the Shia. the Sunnis of Saudi Arabia are definitely against the Shia in Yemen, Iran, Syria, and all these places, and they are funding the Sunni Shia, basically civil war that's happening all throughout the Middle East, the Saudis. So that's why the neocons would be like, why in the world would they support Saudi Arabia? Because, largely speaking, there's an understanding between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Let's go kick Iran's ass, make sure they're not a pain in our ass. Iran funds Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel's not happy about that. Iran gave a lot of money to Syria, which is more Shia aligned to the Assad government, etc. So they have joint interests, which is logical.
I just want to be clear, and I mean, you did make it clear. It's not like some crazy cabal. We don't need to talk about like the nature of this. They're all secretly pro-Israel, right? I mean, Israel and Saudi Arabia offer a path in the Middle East that most people who seem to be part of the establishment, in this case neocons unquestionably included, are more comfortable with. It's a solution that they're more comfortable with.
Yeah. Now, you guys, I think, are getting too focused on how scared we should be of this region. I've got a region that might actually be scarier as of today. So why don't we transition to that?
Can I just say one last note on that? Because I know, right?
I was waiting for the background to change.
No, so Ben, I say secret only in two regards. One is that it just doesn't get talked about in the press that much.
Totally.
Right? And there's no, council of anything meeting, but it's a natural alliance where they have joint enemies. Makes sense. We had a natural alliance with Iran after 9/11 because our joint enemy was Al Qaeda. So that happens from time to time. The other reason is the Saudis pretend to be against Israel, and they huff and they puff. And meanwhile, they've got an alliance they've been working on for decades. So that's still.
It's just they're
our prime allies still.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are our two prime allies. Like, it's not an accident. They're not like, they don't sit around going like, I can't believe you still have this thing with the Saudis. It really pisses me off. The Saudis are like, here with the fucking Jews. That would be hysterical with you. But it is crazy.
Jews, man.
It is crazy that the same people, the Tom DeLay crowd, I don't know how it was used him because of that peculiar notion that he thinks all Jews are going to die in the what do you call it, in the rapture.
Yeah,
in the rapture.
Yeah.
Or afterwards.
That these people are cheering like the Saudis. They came out to victimize us in 9/11, and we stand with Israel and their mortal enemies when they're. And so in a sense, yeah, that's the secret that should probably, and it's not even that big a secret.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an accident that those are our two biggest allies in the region. We didn't pick one on each side because we thought, oh, this is big. We'll play them off each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, now let's pivot to another part of the world. On Friday morning, monitoring agencies working on the Korean Peninsula detected the seismic waves of about a 5.3 magnitude tremor, and it didn't take long before they realized that this was not a natural occurrence. This was the result of yet another nuclear test being conducted by the North Korean government. And in fact, it was the most powerful of the 5 tests that they've done so far in the past decade. They said that the test had a yield equivalent to 10 kilotons of TNT, which would make it, as I said, the most powerful of the past 5. This came just 3 days, or just days after North Korea test-fired 3 ballistic missiles that ended up landing in the ocean about 150 miles away from Japan. People not happy about that, of course, especially people in Japan, it turns out. North Korea also then went on to confirm the test, saying our nuclear scientists staged a nuclear explosion test on a newly developed nuclear warhead at the country's northern nuclear test site. And in response, the condemnation has been broad across the world. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe called Friday's test a significant threat to the safety of our country. And former U.S. Ambassador Christopher Hill, U.S. Ambassador to South Korea, said before long, I think they're going to have a nuclear warhead on a missile, and we have to look really carefully and see what we're going to do. Now, before we get into our commentary, I do want to provide a little bit of historical nuclear context on what this test actually represents. So if we can bring up this graphic, this is a rough approximation based on data that we have available of basically the diameter of destruction that you can expect from nuclear weapons of different sizes. Now, in that innermost pinkish area, that is actually about twice as powerful as the nuclear weapon that North Korea tested earlier today, which is believed to have a fireball of about 5 New York City blocks or so. And then the Fat Man, which means it's about the size of the Hiroshima nuclear weapon. You have Nagasaki size and pink, and then eventually going up to Castle Bravo and Sarbamba. Those are some of the bigger nuclear weapons that have been tested that are obviously far, far, far more powerful. Russia is believed that if it was actually to weaponize one of their biggest tests, they could reach over 100 megatons, which is far, far greater than anything North Korea is capable of. These are still obviously devastating weapons. If you unleash it in a city, whether in South Korea, China, Japan, or the U.S., it would be devastating. But this is not the same as them having the level of nuclear capability or ballistic missiles technology that we have or many other countries around the world have.
Thanks, John. I'm not worried anymore.
Honestly, if
only
it lands,
5 New York City blocks.
if it lands at your feet,
shield. I live in New York. It's busy. But also let's be clear.
Though, which
right? Which 5 blocks? If it's in Midtown, we can negotiate.
Many Republicans, if it was in the UN building, might be okay with it.
Times Square lately? Ugh, please.
Yeah, I actually find that lovely.
They have to wonder, what can we do to get attention here? All the attention on ISIS. How do we need to detonate?
Yeah. Well, so that's one of the things I want to talk about here. I have something old and something new in this story. The old is it's amazing what hypocrites we are. We keep talking about, oh my God, we're in danger, we got to go get ISIS, we got to go get this guy and that guy, and etc. But North Korea is sitting there, probably the greatest threat to us. That was wonderfully awkward. Okay. Probably the greatest threat to us in terms of the weapons here, which is going to lead to my new point in a second. ISIS doesn't have anywhere near a nuclear weapon. They barely have long swords. So, yes, they've done a lot of damage in Iraq and Syria, and yes, they make videos on the web telling people, I guess attack wherever you are with whatever you have. But they don't have any kind of weaponry like North Korea does. Oh my God, we have to invade Iran! They might get nuclear weapons later, and they might figure out how to deliver them, but they're nowhere near any of that. North Korea already has all this stuff. Nah, who cares? Why? They don't have oil. They're not anywhere near the Middle East, so we don't give a damn. If you're not near the Middle East and you don't have oil, Russia, you want to take Ukraine? Nah.
They also have deterrence.
Take Crimea, North Korea, do whatever the hell you want. Nah. So you're right. North Korea is a very complicated situation and nearly impossible to resolve. Because you attack North Korea, they're going to launch other conventional weapons and kill hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of South Koreans, probably also Japanese, let alone who else they can reach.
Well, actually, really quickly, can we bring up this final graphic? I'm going to show you approximate ranges of some of their weapons. The green is what we know they are capable of using right now. That's obviously hitting South Korea. It's getting into possibly Japan in some areas, but they are testing for the red circle, which would give them all of Japan, the rest of Korea, and the ability to hit some other countries in the region. And they would like to eventually be able to hit the west coast of U.S. as well, in addition to China, India, some of the Middle East, and all of that.
So that brings me to my new point. In the past, I would say about North Korea, your dad's old line. They can't make the toilets run, right? So they're not going to hit anybody. They're going to hit themselves in the face. And if they try to launch a missile, it's going to fail on the launch pad, and they're going to detonate, and probably kill a lot of their own citizens. But today, I actually have a different view because of some of what the experts are saying. They're saying, in the past, when you and I were saying that, we said that a million times on the show throughout the 14 years that we've been on. They couldn't. We were right. They couldn't hit anything. Now, the amount of weaponry they could put on a missile is much, much greater. Still not completely confirmed that it was on a missile in this case, but we do know the size of the explosion, and their capabilities have clearly increased. And then I thought about it. Yeah, they're terrible with technology. The flip side is, we're saying they might have gotten to the point where they have a weapon the size that we hit Hiroshima with 70 years ago. Yeah. Like in 70 years, could they finally get to that point? Yeah, probably, and that's probably pretty close to where we are today. And if they could somehow deliver those nuclear weapons, certainly into South Korea, that's pretty easy. Japan, fairly easy. Now we're beginning to have a conversation about Seattle and LA.
Now I'm worried again.
Yeah.
You calm me down.
Yeah.
You have me worried.
Yeah. So if we care about what a real threat is, we would be panicked over North Korea. But instead, we're like, ISIS made a video!
Don't you guys think, it is obviously a threat, but don't you think when you said internal that most of this stuff, insofar as we could tell anything about North Korea. It is internally focused, right? Like this guy has been in power, I think, now for 4 years. He's the son. He's cracked down even more ruthlessly than his dad, and this is all about sort of like deterrence from the outside and then domestic positioning on the inside. Like even as dangerous as it is, there's no actual evidence that they're just going to be like, all right, we can hit Seattle, let's do it, and destroy ourselves.
No. So, look, I don't believe that anyone is an completely irrational actor. So there's this theory of, some religious people, let's keep it real, they mainly talk about Muslims. Like, for example, in Iran, they think that something or other is coming, and yada yada, and so it's going to kill everybody, those irrational Muslims. No, I don't. And even as irrational as the North Korean leadership is, I don't think they're going to just randomly hit Seattle. But they are also profoundly stupid. So can they stumble and bumble in their way into some sort of nuclear conflict? Yes, they might want to test a weapon that gets close to Japan. Oh shit, it didn't get close, it hit Japan. Yeah. Now what are we going to do? Now we're going to hit back, and all of a sudden they're launching everything they got, and we're in an absolute disaster.
Well, they can reliably hit the ocean now. They've done it almost every time. But also, look at how many times they have blackmailed us with the threat of developing nuclear weapons to give them all sorts of aid and things like that. The threat to use a nuclear weapon should be even more persuasive in terms of backing up a threat and the ability of the U.S., or if they do it internationally, to get China to do what they want, to get Japan to do what they want, or South Korea. Whether they ever launch one. Exactly, but I'm saying they never need to launch a weapon to get something from it.
Think about these two idiots in charge, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. Okay, imagine somebody sends the wrong tweet, next thing you know, there's like 1 million dead people in Seoul, South Korea.
Well, and actually,
you see what I'm saying? This is some really, really serious stuff.
And to your point, Donald Trump has said, first of all, that more countries need to develop nuclear weapons, our allies especially. We can't be paying to defend you anymore. Japan should develop nuclear weapons, and South Korea should develop nuclear weapons, and they should all be armed, all the nuclear weapons should be all over the place. And then he's also laid out the case that this idea that the use of nuclear weapons should be literally the last thing any human leader ever does, that's quaint and old-fashioned. No, nuclear is great. I love nuclear, he says. And so if he's laying out that, hey, maybe we'll use it at some point and more countries should be using it, well, there goes away any of our ability through soft power to constrain the abilities of other countries to use it. If suddenly North Korea has nuclear weapons, then maybe Japan feels like they do have to actually get nuclear weapons.
They definitely.
You feel like, and that's the disaster that he represents, and that's before he's ever actually in the Oval Office.
You think Donald Trump is going to tolerate a 87-day complicated back and forth negotiation period with North Korea, right? Where we're 22 times in that, because they are again looking to show and assert strength domestically. They just don't do something, even if it's like they're 2 hours late for a meeting, right? Not that he would be there, but that he'll stand for that sort of pushing them around. He won't, and I'm not saying he presses a button that day, but he turns around and walks out on it. Right, and pulls us out.
Or alternatively, inability to negotiate or anything like that. That's obvious. But I do think the other thing to just keep in mind about this is that I don't know how stable North Korea is to begin with domestically. So the other big danger scenario is that the whole thing implodes, and you maybe even have people that are even more hardline than the present leader, or it just totally devolves, and then you have the border crisis in China and all the rest, plus all of this material there. So that's like another thing that I'm sure Donald Trump is sort of like strategically gaming out when he thinks about various North Korean.
But we don't know, because we have such limited access to what is happening, that this guy's not doing this, and this is not a good thing. That he's not, because he's not constantly showing the generals who maybe could overthrow him, particularly radical, crazy set of generals. Well, look at me, I got it.
I think he is doing it.
Right, like he's showing off to be like, hey, no, I'm good, I got it. But he never has any intention of anything except this.
If we're lucky, but if we're unlucky, a lot of people die. So, okay, look, let's get to solutions here, which are very, very hard in this situation. So some people like to say, well, people are so dangerous, we should do thought experiments about nuking them first. I wonder who that would be. Now, think about how stupid that is in any context, so let's just take this one. That doesn't have anything to do with religion, right? So, if anyone is unstable and dangerous, it's Kim Jong-un and the North Korean military, the most unstable people in the world. What good does it do us to nuke them? When I thought about that, I was like, oh my god, what if they nuke us? Oh no, then we'd have to And yes, you call me a liberal. Oh no, we would have to nuke them back and then kill an innocent 1 million North Koreans, 2 million North Korean civilians who've already suffered so terribly under this Kim Jong-un regime and his dad and his grandfather, etc.
Fucking liberal.
I mean, why do we want to do that? Why do we want to do that? Like that? No. I don't want to nuke North Korea. And like we keep doing sanctions on them. The guy doesn't care about his own citizens. When are you going to get that through your thick head? The sanctions hardly affect him unless it affects the caviar or the particular wine that he likes that he can't get.
But that's the key. It's through China, and you also have to crack down on because they also fund themselves literally through like drug smuggling. It's like a narco state too. So you have to hit those. And I think my impression is that China's like the only place that can actually say straight up, we will cut off some funnels for you.
So we threaten to nuke China.
We threaten to nuke China, exactly. Because we don't know how to make deals with them anymore.
No, but I will tell you this. Look, Michael's exactly right. So you can't invade North Korea. They'll launch. You'll kill so many South Koreans. It's like sickening to think about. So you can't just bluster in there. You can't do nothing because they keep getting bigger and bigger weapons and the ability to deliver them until maybe they could actually hit the United States. And besides, we should be sickened at the idea of them hitting any of our allies, like South Korea and Japan. That should be enough to motivate us to take real action. So how are you going to be smart about it? Their only ally is China. So now, who does care about sanctions? China cares. So we have got to. Now this is actually getting tough. You turn around to China, but you got to have allies, and you got to do this smart. Again, you can't blunder into it. You got to get Europe, you got to get Russia, you got to get everybody, especially Japan and South Korea. And you got to turn around to China and say, we're done with this. So you guys have been propping these guys up forever, and we know why you're doing because you don't want all these North Koreans coming across your border, and you don't want that refugee problem, and you kind of like that they're a thorn on the West side, and you think if North Korea becomes merged with South Korea, the West will get stronger and America will have a bigger influence. Yeah, we're past that. They got nukes. Let's go. We're past it. So unless you do something about North Korea that's real, okay, then we're going to have a trade war. Yeah, it's going to hurt us real bad, but it's also going to hurt you real bad. So now we're very, very serious about this because the only people in the world that could actually do something about it is China. So you don't want to go in and threaten China militarily. That's crazy talk. But I think it's time to start talking about economic threats to China to make sure that North Korea doesn't get out of control.
Who's going to do that? Hillary with an earpiece from Huma Abedin telling her what to say the whole time?
Trump already has tie factories in China. He's already done business with them.
Because Trump's idea of negotiation sometimes is to just pull the rug out from people and think that, I'm the only one who's crazy in this room, and they will have to act rationally. You do that with someone like Kim Jong-un, and then he pulls the rug out, and for God's sake.
But also, there are clips of Donald Trump talking about Kim Jong-un.
No.
Came out several ways. Like,
did he hear they complimented him or something?
Oh, he did. He's like, I mean, it's pretty brutal, but he's a young kid. I mean, it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, he's a
I might not be saying, you know, impressive might be a step too far. I don't remember. It's not an exact quote, but he definitely was like, that kid came in there, and I mean, look. It's pretty impressive. It's amazing.
And the problem with him and his negotiations has been that there's never any consequences for Donald Trump. He can just keep going bankrupt and starting up products, and then they go under, and new companies, and then that goes under, and then he's always going to be fine because he's great at robbing people of their money, and he started off with hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's the proposal. Don't pay North Korea for services rendered.
Exactly. Don't pay him.
Done.
But the problem is that for the U.S., there are consequences if a deal goes sour. For instance, if we hadn't gotten the deal with Iran, then Iran would be closer to a nuclear weapon now. You can't simply go in, spit in their face, and then if they don't give you what you want, that's fine. I'll just use debt smart. You can't actually do that with the U.S. government.
So here's what Trump said, and it got fact checked because Hillary. And you're right. He said you got to give him credit for the way he took control at such a young age, right? You gotta, but he
That's
also
what he said about Joffrey.
He also
said it was brutal.
He also called him a maniac and a madman, right? But here's in January 9th speech in Iowa, Trump said you have to give Kim credit for the way he took control of the country after his father died. So Trump used Kim's rise to power as a cautionary tale for the U.S. Quote, the Republican presidential frontrunner said Kim's willingness to push aside generals and wipe out demonstrated. So, like, that's
He's got good. She's awesome. Yeah. He just wins at self-awareness. But I also think, guys, you can't compare Iran to North Korea. Iran wanted a deal, and there's a lot of very rational decision makers in Iran, whether you like them or not.
Example, the
but I think that's a lot. That's a deal that a lot of people want to have happen. both sides. I don't know.
Iran, we've said so many times on the show, Iran wants a seat at the world stage, right? You know, they may not behave like everybody else or how we want to, but they want to be at that meeting. And North Korea does not. That's their thing. Is we're outsiders, and that's a huge difference.
Why don't we take our first break, and then we're going to switch it up with something totally different.
Yeah, so when we come back, we've got the pipeline in North Dakota, who's right, who's wrong. I will adjudicate. And then Trump gets himself into trouble. And then I hope we have time for Gomer, because Gomer's at it again.
Yeah, that's got the greatest sentence.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great story. We'll be right back.
I like creativity in the circus business as much as anybody. But you better be sure you got a chance to make it.
All right, post game here in Studio D. It's a green screen magic of internet television.
A lot of condom breaking stories.
Any conversation that says, well, marriage is an interesting thing deserves a little bit of.
When the kid cries, perhaps that's that is an opportunity to do so. It's an opportunity to do some parenting.
Yeah, parenting is you cry, you're gone.
Oh my God!
I love that video.
Yeah, Dad, I got a great eye. Chew. You're like, my mouth is open. She sneezed in my eye.
I used to have Donut Tower next to my desk. Yeah, I'll dress up like a girl.
I sound confident now, Anna. When we're off the air, I'm going to be like, how is this going to work?
You get literally asked why 21 straight times.
Yeah.
Like at some point, you're fucking with me. Right?
So I dumped the kids off at her mom's, and I drove down to La Jolla for a day.
Kids.
They're like, but Daddy, no.
Why? What do you mean why? You asked me to look at you. You did it. You brought it up. You know you're doing it. Why? I don't know why. I was reading. She's lovely. Here's what's different. Like, it is a different feeling. Everybody says this, but it's 5:11 when we're shooting this. I can't wait to go home. Like that. I can't wait to see it.
What you guys do is allow us to be open and honest, and we don't have to worry about censorship. We don't have to worry about sponsors telling us what we can and can't say. We're accountable by our audience and our audience only, and I absolutely love that. That's the best part about this network. We love you guys.
Johnson gets to the trigger.
I have 5 minutes. Explain to Facebook. Go.
Utah leading by 8. Here's Kennedy. Good for another bucket. He's made half a dozen now. 6 for 8 on the night. Another gap in the defense found there, and they really had their number today. Johnson dishes to Jennings. Drummond sets the screen for James. Here's the forward. Shot from Trout. And Drummond is in. And not a night it's going to want to remember, just not really able to score the basketball. Howard is free. He's covered closely. Scooped up. Watson's shot is good. Watson's got his first points of the game. And guys, they continue to put a lot of pressure on the interior defenders with the way they work down low. It's becoming a theme in this game, Clark. They are piling up the points in the paint. Dishes it to Jones. Martinez puts up the foul. That is his first foul on the game. I mean, that's a tough play for the D. I mean, he took the hit and drew the whistle. Yeah, but he was late to get there, Greg, so the referee couldn't give him a free pass on that one. Miles check in for Marius. That's side Jennings. Nice two from Kennedy. Not really his best year as far as scoring, but let's see if he can eventually get back on track. No doubt that is within his range. Well, I would hope so. He's a pro and was only a 1-footer. Come on, man. Johnson gets the Jennings. Johnson with it, elevated by Freak. Out to the wing. D2 from Jennings. Running from the wing. Jennings has got 11. Better to be lucky than.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Some quick tweets for you guys, and then we got a lot more stories. Jessica Chastain says, I'm loving the dynamics on Power Panel today. Well, thank you, Jessica. We appreciate it. I'm going to save Crazy Nate's because I think that's the best one. Nate Long says, what's the over-under on North Korea just blowing themselves to hell in a failed test?
That would be
pretty high. I mean, there's a decent chance of that happening.
People always seem to forget that setting off nuclear weapons is not just bad for the people right there.
Yeah, and if they set it off in South Korea, but that's the thing, they set it off in South Korea, of course the radiation, which Scott Busby talks about in another tweet, is going to go over to North Korea. But again, they don't care about their own citizens, so it's irrelevant to them. Like, oh, accidentally 200,000 North Koreans died. Who cares? Michael Corno says North Korea wants the seat on the world stage. If they can't have the Iron Throne, they'll burn it with wildfire. I appreciate when we read almost any Game of Thrones reference. And then finally, back to Crazy Nate. Trump identifies with Kim Jong-un because they both inherited all their power from their daddies.
Well, I mean, that's a fantastic point.
It really is.
Great point.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, and that's why he says, the kid did a good job when he took over, because he knows when he took over from his dad, he botched it in 1,000 different ways, and Daddy had to bail him out so many times.
Yeah.
So he's like, I know how hard it can be.
Yeah, Kim's dad didn't need to come back and give him casino chips.
He could have.
Run it.
Yeah, because, he is a celestial entity, so his dad could have come back.
I know.
If you wrote that story on a right-wing conspiracy site, Donald Trump Jr. would retweet it.
No problem. All right.
Aren't they both? See a story I saw this week. Did you guys notice the story that the world panda population has rebounded nicely? Yeah, I just saw that and I thought that sounds like a job for the Trump boys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they can bring that back down.
Hold up a nice panda ear.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm amazed that Republicans look at the Trump kids and they're like, see, that's why Trump's a good guy.
Yeah.
Raise good country club kids like that. I'm like, really? They look like a bunch of douches.
Yeah. When Mitt Romney sees them, he thinks they're his kids.
They look like the bad kids in every John Hughes movie.
Yeah, exactly. Look, to be fair, Ivanka looks fine. The two sons look like disasters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she somehow
Ivanka sucks.
wasn't affected by it.
Stop going right
Far
on.
more liberal than the others, but yeah, she does
She's
not overall
got a
great.
good job elected president. I mean, come on.
Everybody gets one mistake.
Yeah, that's a pretty big. All right, what's next?
Okay, let's actually talk about the family a little bit. Donald Trump wants to be able to do what all politicians do, and that is to fill up your TV ads with stereotypical regular Americans, your waitresses and construction workers, maybe a cop or a firefighter. And he is actually doing that. He's getting those people, and he's filling up his ads with them, but he's not doing it consensually. It turns out that to get the people in the locations he wants, he's simply lying to those people and the stores about what's going to happen to the material that they're shooting. So why don't we show a little clip of an ad, and you're going to see a couple of things in here that we're going to reference.
In Hillary Clinton's America, the middle class gets crushed. Spending goes up. Taxes go up. In Donald Trump's America, working families get tax relief. Millions of new jobs created. Wages go up. Small businesses thrive. The American dream achievable.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
There's a bit of a tonal shift there. Man, I love putting
In Donald Trump's America, we're going to start talking much quicker. The color is going to come back to America.
Yeah, they literally desaturated the video.
Totally. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's the political ad I've ever seen.
that's pretty. I'm actually going to vote for him now. Still hate him. I'm going to vote for him.
Black people will be given an American flag.
So if we can bring up this first picture, you're going to see a snapshot from that actual ad. It's such a happy-looking guy. Small businesses thrive. I guarantee if you read that actual Tax Foundation paper, that is not their actual conclusion. But I could be wrong. Now, what you're seeing there is the facade for John's Friendly Market, front and center in his ad. That ad now running in 9 battleground states.
I saw that ad in Colorado.
Did you really? Interesting. Well, the people who actually run John's Friendly Market said that longtime customers started calling, wanting to know if the market was supporting Trump. I don't know how they noticed that that's where it was so quickly, but they did. Some said they might take their shopping elsewhere if that was the case. And one of the persons who runs it says, "My concern is our image is being connected with a particular candidate. It just feels invasive and intrusive. Plus the fact that we were misled. Because while a film crew did come to film outside the front of their store, it simply told them that they were shooting B-roll background footage for commercial use."
They're too embarrassed to say that they're from Trump.
Yeah.
But what did they do? They just randomly. And by the way, do you ever go like this?
Well, that guy is not a worker.
Oh,
That's
so
an
he's
actor.
That's an actor. Yeah.
I don't know if he for sure was at Trump's first rally, that paid actor, but he was there for that.
He specializes in happy small businesses.
Exactly. He sounds like happy.
Sort of character.
We have one other quote from one of the owners of that market who says, speaking about the film crew, they were out there quite a while. I expected to see the market in a toilet paper commercial or something, which means that they are more comfortable being associated with human defecation than with Donald Trump.
We were comfortable with that.
I like that of all the things they thought of. They were like, I thought it was toilet paper. I had no idea they mean something disgusting.
I like that. So you also saw in there was another gentleman. I believe he had a hard hat on in the video. It's like regular working Joe.
Now, a black guy who had yet to be given his flag.
He didn't have his flag, so he was looking a little bit sad. And so in response to that, the Operative Plasterers and Cement Masons International Association issued a letter to its members today, because one member, Calvin Anderson of Philadelphia, who appeared in that ad, is there in a hard hat with the union's label on the front. The leader of that union said he and others were intentionally misled and not told that his photo or video would be used for the specific purpose of a Donald Trump campaign advertisement. Anderson, the man in the ad, said he received a call from his 94-year-old grandmother telling him she saw his twin on a Trump ad. And this is a quote from him. I said, boy, everybody do got a twin out there. I said, Granny, that's me. She said, I'm going to shoot you.
There he is. There's Calvin Anderson.
That's poor guy. Yeah.
Poor Granny.
Now, part of the reason they do this is because they can't get African Americans to voluntarily be in a Donald Trump ad. They can't. Apparently, have trouble getting small business owners to be in a Donald Trump ad, and so they've got to lie to them and tell them, "Oh no, it's for something else. Don't worry about it. It's toilet paper. Yeah, toilet paper." And
like Trump, just tell the black guy it's for the NBA. It's great.
Hey, that's my African American. Yeah.
Just tell the black guy it's sports related.
So Calvin Anderson says, no, I want to be very clear. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton, and I did not want to be in that ad. I'm considering legal action. I'm not supporting that guy.
Considering legal action, don't consider it. Sue him. It's Donald Trump.
Do it.
What he'd do.
Well,
sue you.
So yeah, and the unions might, but the market, back to the Jersey market. The reason they recognize John is because that's a really well-known market in that town, right? And so everybody's like, oh my god, yeah. And it's been around forever, and the community loves it. And so here's the other interesting part of it: the guy who originally owned it is John Johnson, and it's his daughters that I believe are now running it, and he apparently was beloved because during hard times he would let people not pay, and he'd say, "Okay, I'll give it to you on credit," and then they would come back. I mean, this was when you had small businesses who were run by human beings, and instead of corporations who were like, "No, we must maximize every dollar. If you're on hard times, I'm actually going to charge you more because I've got more leverage." Right?
So Donald Trump would consider that dude a loser.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, oh, you had him by the balls. Why didn't you do something?
Other than this, you leave money on the table. The kids are hungry.
Right. Yeah. And so that's why these guys are actually the antithesis of Donald Trump supporters. And I'm not speaking for the market owners, and they're like, look, we don't want any politics. I don't want to lose business because of Trump or against Trump. Right? And I don't know what the owners' politics are, but they're obviously not happy about this because they didn't sign on to being in a Trump ad.
And their father let people not pay. We know what their politics.
Okay, and so what's interesting is everybody's so embarrassed of Donald Trump, and he's such a loser. That's why we're doing a segment that he has to trick people into fake supporting him. But let's keep it real. About 45% of the country does support him, and he's in the latest polls pretty close to tied, if not leading in some of the polls against Hillary Clinton. So who the hell are these people? I know. Look, I've talked to them. I talked to regular guys in Philly and in Ohio and Jersey and all these different places. They say Trump, right? But when you're out in polite company, nobody wants to say Trump. Let's not kid ourselves. There's a huge chunk of the country who might not be proud to support Trump, but they're still going to vote for him. They're Republicans.
They're mostly couple. That might be true, and the Bradley effect, maybe in effect here with Trump when Bradley led beat Wilson by like 6 or 7 points in every poll before the gubernatorial race in California, and then lost by 5. There was like a huge clear. I'm going to say I'm voting for the black guy, but I didn't vote for the black guy. And maybe that kind of thing is happening with Trump. What's also should be considered is that the people most likely to not vote in an election are uneducated white people. That may well turn out that the 4% of his people just don't show up. People who say they're going to vote for him. Also, here's what else worked against him. I think, and I've not read this. I'm sure it's been said though. Like saying ahead of time to people who don't trust the process, it's rigged. My hunch is you're encouraging people, your own people, to be like, I'm not going to vote. It's rigged anyway. Why waste my time?
Yeah, no, Ben, he's going to bungle it in every way imaginable, and that's probably why he'll barely lose. Because he has no ground game. He still doesn't quite understand how to turn out voters. He says all the wrong things that actually dispirit his own base, etc. And all those things are true, and nonetheless, he's still tied, and that's what's scary.
And we should all remember that no matter what, again, there's this running from him of people like, hey, don't put me in my ad, don't put my store in your ad, don't put me in your ad, don't put my store in your ad. Like, if this does turn into the 2016 version of a Hillary landslide, right, where she gets 50% and he gets 35 and the other 15 are split, it's like as much of a landslide as it could possibly be if everything clicked right for her. He's still going to have like 43 million people vote for him. At a bare minimum, 43 million Americans for him.
And he'll start a media company.
And
I think that's really the game, and I think she'll end up winning fairly comfortably, also just because of the demographics of it. I just don't see how it works in the end. But if anybody could pull defeat from the jaws of victory, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's right.
Although, if he does start that media company, then that might actually be good for us, because he will have lost the election, and then if anything that we know about his business career holds true in 18 months, that company will go under.
But there's a sweet spot between Alex Jones and Fox News. There's a great
I agree. I agree. And
lately, it's difficult to tell the difference.
And for however dumb Trump Steak sounds, and however dumb Trump University sounds, Trump TV, that has a little. That one's okay. That one has a little ring to it.
Believe me, he will screw it up.
Also,
he won't be winning.
He's also doing an amazing job in the ground game. I don't know where you guys got.
Oh yeah,
he's doing a tremendous job.
Yeah,
Tremendous.
I hear in some swing states he has 2 offices.
Yeah. Look, I guess I'll do something longer on this on Monday, but I was hoping to come back from Labor Day and call the election for Hillary Clinton, but I can't do it. There's 2 ways that I think it could have gone. One is Trump nosedived so hard Gary Johnson beat it was going to get tighter. And I think it's gotten tighter, and he can't call it. I think that she's going to win because he's a clown, and he's going to bungle the things he could have done right to win. But at this point, I think it's going to be really close.
And who's Gary Johnson?
No.
Sorry.
Lame.
What are you going to do?
I got it. Aleppo joke. I got it.
Aleppo. Did you think real quick? I'm sorry. Just on Aleppo. I know we got to get to the guy.
I thought we might talk about the Dakota Access Pipeline, but
we're talking about the Dakota Access.
We'll do it on Monday.
Just in don't you think the way Mike Barnacle asked that question that he knew?
He was trying to. Yeah, he was trying to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like it sounded like because it wasn't. It's not the way you'd ask the question.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I still think like while yes, you should know if you just hear it.
You might think
it's hard to picture the word Aleppo. It sounds like Aleppo.
I thought it was like the ALEPO.
Yeah. By the way, I know what Aleppo is, but still, if you just said, "Hey, what's happening in Aleppo?" I'd be like, "What's in Aleppo?" I think that I might actually 50% chance.
So I defend Gary Johnson.
I think his economic ideas are worse than not knowing what Aleppo is.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Totally.
Okay, big news. After weeks of deliberations, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe has actually lost their case against the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And of course, that's important because it was considered for weeks and months that that would be the only thing that would stop the Dakota Access Pipeline from being constructed near their land and possibly imperiling their access to clean water. That might not actually end up being the case. And so we have some good news. But first, I want to read from that decision in which the tribe lost. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg's ruling said that this court does not likely countenance any depredation of lands that hold significance to the Standing Rock Sioux, and that, given the federal government's history with the tribe, The court scrutinizes the permitting process here with particular care. Having done so, the court must nonetheless conclude that the tribe has not demonstrated that an injunction is warranted here. By the way, if you haven't been following this, it's a massive pipeline that would carry about 500,000 barrels of crude oil daily from North Dakota's oil fields through South Dakota, and then connecting to another pipeline in Illinois. And in response to that ruling, one of the attorneys working this case says, "We will have to pursue our options with an appeal and hope that construction isn't completed while that appeal process is going forward. We will, however, continue to pursue vindication of the tribe's lawful rights, even if the pipeline is complete." So that seemed like bad news. It seemed like case over. Maybe there would be an appeal, but we know how that would probably go. However, suspiciously close to that decision being released, suddenly the Department of Justice, the Department of the Army, and the Department of the Interior have a joint statement ready to go where they effectively reverse the entire thing, at least as of right now. Portions say, "We appreciate the District Court's opinion on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' compliance with the National Historic Preservation Act. However, important issues raised by the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and other tribal nations and their members remain. Therefore, construction of the pipeline on Army Corps land bordering or under Lake Lahi will not go forward at this time. In the interim, while they're continuing to discuss this and look into it, we request that the pipeline company voluntarily pause all construction activity within 20 miles of that lake." And importantly, going forward, outside of just this one case, they said, "Furthermore, this case has highlighted the need for a serious discussion on whether there should be nationwide reform with respect to considering tribes' views on these types of infrastructure projects." And slightly later on in that same statement, they also said that the rights of activists need to be protected, and while we can't countenance any violence or destruction of property by activists, we also can't countenance any violence against those activists. We have evidence of that violence, and so hopefully there will be court cases in the future.
Yeah, so part of what the pipeline is saying is, look, this is almost all on private land. We already cleared it with the private land, so let's get on with it already. This is a $3.7 billion project, and if you continue to delay the financing costs, will endanger the entire project and cost us all this money, but also the area, the money, the jobs, etc., which is, so the judge is ruling with them, it is largely on private land. Okay. Now, what the Native Americans are saying is, well, yeah, except the government is involved where it's going under the water. And so, first of all, the water is sacred to us. Second of all, we don't think they did a proper analysis of to see if there are sacred grounds by the water, and also on the private property. It might be private property, doesn't mean that there isn't sacred grounds on there, and so that's a different issue. And now the government is partly saying, yeah, maybe we should have looked into that a little bit better to see if the private property still has sacred ground. For example, the company started bulldozing this piece of property. That's what led to the altercation with the dogs and the protesters, etc. And so that's why the government's saying, okay, good point by the Native American groups protesting here. Let's check that out for a little bit. Now, they might check it out and go, no, we have decided that there are not sacred grounds there, and the water's the water. It's, so you think it's sacred, but we got to do a pipeline and we're going to go. So, but they haven't made that decision yet. So the part of the story I love is that this is the most American thing you do, which is protest. And so they're doing that protest. It's gotten larger and larger, and it's having an effect. It made the government pause.
It worked. Yeah, it worked. Yeah. It may not work long term, but it worked short term, and working short term is it's that money could go away, or they could decide, all right, we got to go a different route. We got to move forward. We don't have time to wait and see what the government does. And, if Trump wins, great, we'll plow it.
And by the way,
big league into Native American heritage sites. But don't you also think, just really quickly, that this kind of also re-highlights identity politics in a certain way? Like, in some ways, these conversations devolve on Twitter and social media, and it becomes all these debates about, like, are people being too PC and all this nonsense, and who really cares? But this is an issue that highlighted a specific group that obviously in American history has been a victim of, like, genocide, dislocation, and still thievery of the land, still has their rights routinely violated, and then it was highlighted through an incredibly real issue. Yeah, like literally water safety, in addition to cultural heritage, and it fused together in a really important way and actually highlighted that stuff as like actual politics and actual things that matter.
Yeah. And look, we don't know where this will go. I think the odds that they could end up going forward with the construction are still very high, which is obviously not what the activists want. But as you were saying, I mean, look, this would not have happened, this temporary stoppage at the very least, if not for the protests that have been ongoing for months. And we've been covering this. We've done many videos. It is unfortunate that more of the most prominent politicians felt like they didn't need to say anything or there was too much risk in saying anything. We covered this week that Jill Stein did visit the site of the protests, and we've also criticized President Obama for not speaking out on this. Although I think we have to take back some of that criticism because they had the statement ready to go. Clearly, they were waiting to see what would happen with the court. Because if the court did shut down construction, then there was no point in them saying anything earlier.
I think the Department of the Army and the Interior and the Justice might have checked with their boss.
They might have, yes. And so, look, this is him. They say that actions speak louder than words. Well, we didn't have the words, but we do have the actions at least now, and so that should count for something. There are going to be people who
usually criticize.
Exactly, and there are going to be some people who don't want to give any credit, especially when there are legitimate fears about what could end up happening a couple steps down the road. But this does count for something. He did not need to do this, and yet we have action.
And by the way, we've done a lot of videos on the Young Turks here, but even more on TYT politics. So Jordan's done a great job of covering this, and Eric has as well. So go to youtube.com/TYT politics to find out more about this. Lastly, look, we've talked about this on Old School, Ben. I root for the Native Americans. I root for them back in the cowboy and Indian movies, and I was like, I don't know why they're the bad guys. They seem to be getting murdered. Right? So I never understood that. And so they've been screwed in 1,000 different ways, and all the treaties were abdicated, and etc. That doesn't mean they're going to win, and that doesn't mean that if I was the judge, I would necessarily rule in their direction, right? It might turn out that the judges and then now the government says, look, there isn't any specific burial grounds in where they're planning to do the pipeline. And so, given balancing everything out, we're going to go forward with the pipeline onto the public land, and the rest is private land, and there's just nothing we can do about that unless there's a specific burial ground. So it might end up in that direction. But the other part of what they said in that letter that the government released, I really, really like, which is, look, at a bare minimum, going forward, the next time we do this, we're going to check a hell of a lot better with Native Americans to make sure that we don't just go in and then at the end go, oops, we forgot to check with them again for the billionth time in a row. So even if they don't win on this issue, I think they've done something great here in standing up for their rights, which I think is going to have an effect down the road as well.
But anyway, I don't know what the Native Americans ultimately are complaining about, because there is a football team in the NFL that starts playing Monday that honors them every week.
I know which one that is.
That's anyone nailed it.
Okay, let's do Gomer real quick.
Today it looks like Louis Gomer is trying to win some sort of government irony award by questioning the mental impairment and soundness of Hillary Clinton.
Go. You don't make fun of people who are impaired, have special needs, and whether you like her or not, Hillary Clinton has made clear she is mentally impaired, and this is not somebody you should be making fun of. Now, I get the impression that in law school and along the way she's been very, very smart, but I don't know, maybe it was the concussion, the fall back when she did, or maybe, who knows, they won't tell us what really is going on with her, but if I were going to smash phones, Blackberries, I'd use a 2-pound sledge. I think that's the most, well, who knows, maybe somebody got to wailing around and hit her again, I don't know, but we need to be praying for Hillary Clinton. There's special needs there. There's mental impairment. And I got that stupid song in my head that Rush Limbaugh used to play, and it was to the tune, Try to Remember. And it's Hillary Clinton say, I don't remember my brains in a blender, and for the first time ever, like he's joking, like he's joking, like, and it's actually it's pretty good. Like from his side. Like I mean, he stayed. They laughed, and he didn't break character at all there in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying loathsome things. But you're right. His delivery for the first time was less than loathsome.
Right, and
normally he has no sense of humor at all, and he's like, Barack Obama's working with the Muslims to reconstitute the Ottoman Empire. I'm not kidding. It's happening.
Right.
It's going to happen tomorrow. You're like, Jesus Christ.
The only thing that could have sold the delivery better was a little bit of self-deprecation, because he should know that everybody thinks he's a moron. If he doesn't know that, then he's really a
But
moron.
isn't that the amazing thing about him? Like, it's one thing to have plenty of people in politics that you're like, okay, this is not like an exceptional person. All right, fair enough. But it's amazing when there's a guy like that you're like, absolutely, I'm just picking him as like consistently below average.
It's the stupidest person.
Like in any situation. Like, I don't see him managing like an Applebee's.
No.
And he's in Congress. Judge.
Yeah.
as a judge, people's lives were on the line in front of Louis Gohmert.
Yeah.
That is so unacceptable.
So because he didn't do that self-deprecation, he opens himself up to criticisms that perhaps he's not as mentally sound as he would like to imply in comparison to Hillary Clinton. So we've gone back and picked out some of the highlights we previously talked about on the show. There were so many we have chosen. But here are some of the favorites. In the first one, you may have thought he was just a politician and a judge. Turns out he's actually an amateur scientist. He has an idea on how we can use science to prove that gay marriage is dumb. Let's listen.
I said, look, I think we could do a study. We're good at finding studies. We could take 4 heterosexual couples, married, put them on an island where they have everything they need to sustain life. Take 4 all-male couples, put them on an island with all they need to sustain life. Take 4 women, or 4 couples of women, married, put them on an island, and let's come back in 100, 200 years and see which one nature says is the preferred marriage.
Nailed it.
Yeah, he got denied funding for that.
Yeah. I like if they would just put the 4 couples on each of the islands, and they're like, okay, see you in 200 years.
That's exactly the kind of study that Gilbert would want to do, and they're like on his deathbed, he's like, no,
I'm never gonna know. Yeah, so that's a little bit odd, but he has thoughts about the military as well. Once again, focusing on LGBT members of the U.S. population. Oddly, he can't seem to get off of that, but let's listen to his military suggestions.
And I've had people say, hey, there's nothing wrong with, gays in the military. Look at the Greeks. Well, they did have people come along who they loved. It was the same sex and would give them massages before they went into the battle. But you know what? It's a different kind of fighting. It's a different kind of war. And if you're sitting around getting massages all day, ready to go in the big planned battle, then you're not going to last very long. It's guerrilla fighting. You are going to be ultimately vulnerable to terrorism. And, if that's what you start doing in the military, like the Greeks did, as people have said, Louis, you got to understand, you don't even know your history. Oh, yes, I do. I know exactly.
Study military.
Not a good idea.
Oh, yes, I do.
no. He studied the history books where they talked about the massages.
Can I ask a question? It's embarrassing to even take it this seriously.
It costs like $50 and then probably $50 to tip.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I'm about to say is significantly less funny than that. But okay, hand to hand, like Spartan combat versus like sitting around operating a drone.
Yeah, like which is actually
Which the massage maybe might fit.
No, I was thinking all those movies. Like, no, that's the most dangerous battle there was. It's hand to hand.
Hand to hand, you want to be the hatchet. Yeah, exactly. And they could do it with a little bit of relaxation. And now it's like, hey, we have the targets. We don't exactly know who's there. Why don't you take a little decompress, knock out some places in Pakistan?
Yeah. But all right, let's go to my favorite, and then I'm going to tell you why I actually think that Gomer's new strategy, which is actually Trump's strategy, of course, might actually work. So, but first, one more.
When you attack somebody's integrity and say they made statements that were not true, then of course that raises a point of personal privilege. But the Attorney General failed to answer my questions about what was
Mr. Chairman.
aspersions on my asparagus.
I don't know what that means. Don't cast aspersions on my asparagus.
Don't cast aspersions on my asparagus.
Here's what it means. He is a really dumb guy. Yeah. That's it. It's not that complicated. He thought asparagus meant something else. He is
No way.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I thought aspersions meant something else, and he means he thinks aspersions is another word for olive oil. You know?
Is he talking about food or is this metaphysic? I don't know.
No.
He thought he was
really
complaining
dumb
to a
guy.
waiter.
He's a really dumb guy.
Aaron Holder was in there.
Can I get a new one though?
Makes me think that first one where I praised his comic timing, like he was actually surprised.
I think he spoke a little too soon on that one. Yeah.
So he wanted to speak out in favor of a pipeline in Alaska, and so he did by appealing to your concern over the sex lives of caribou, saying, so when caribou want to go on a date, they invite each other over to head over to the pipeline. So my real concern now is if oil stops running through the pipeline, do we need a study to see how adversely the caribou would be affected if that warm oil ever quit flowing?
This guy's obsessed with warm oil and massages.
Is he married? What I've noticed is, especially with homophobes, they always seem to focus on one graphic physical act that they can't help but talk about when talking about gay sex.
Or anytime
gay
you
love,
see
gay
a
marriage, or whatever.
dude on media or social, it's always shove it down our throat.
That's exactly what
I've
I'm
never
saying.
said that
Every
in my
time.
life.
They're always like, oh, hey, this pipeline, they're going to shove it down our throats. Right?
Or no,
Okay, all
they're
right.
going to disassemble
They're going to take some
pipeline
warm,
down our throats.
yeah, they're going to take some warm oil and after giving us a good massage.
We're not going to last long.
Like, it was like when Ben Carson said, like, oh, you know that you could become gay if you go to jail. Like, that is like probably the top fear of like almost all heterosexual men in the world. Like, go to jail and get assaulted. And he's like, it could be tempting.
So he's open-minded in that one area.
Fair enough.
No, because these homophobes, they're on the spectrum somewhere. And so they think if I go to jail and there's only guys, of course I would sleep with the guys. So of course jail makes you gay. That's what's going through Ben Carson's head. Anyway, look, the reason why this might work, unfortunately, this whole Hillary Clinton is mentally unbalanced, is what are they doing? They're attacking her on Donald Trump's weakness. He's unstable. And so, hey, don't put the Republican in his hands. It's crazy. They're trying to neutralize that by going, she's mentally unbalanced. Now, it's a really hard thing to combat because you say, no, she isn't. There is nothing to uncover. There is no medical reports. They say, and then Gomer says, and you saw it in the first clip, see, they won't tell us. Yeah. No, we just told you. Yeah, but you didn't release the medical records. But there are no medical records. See, they won't tell us.
It's like
That's how conspiracy theories work.
It's not an accident that he talked her temperament. There's a temperament to be present. It's not an accident that the thing with the earpiece, like that was again, that suggests. I mean, one thing you can't. No one who pays attention to this, even people on the left who hate Hillary Clinton, right, would argue. I don't think she needs help in a debate about national security. Our thing is she's a hawk. Like, we're worried that she's too right wing. She can handle herself in that debate. She doesn't need an earpiece, but that plays into the idea that she's lost her rocker. She'll lose her train of thought. She had a serious brain injury, and somebody has to be talking.
I think you're totally right, but does it contradict at all? Like, they have one notion that she's like this ruthless, unique agent of evil in human history, and then at the same time, she's completely incompetent. That's right.
But at the same time, I mean, they have a certain amount of mental flexibility for believing conspiracy theories. I mean, we were talking.
No, I mean, not breaking down, but in terms of like pushing that to the public,
right? Because they can
maybe
whatever.
They might.
But I'm saying that's a contradictory message.
Right? But it doesn't mean that the second message undermines the message.
Well, assuming that both messages get to one person, it could be one message get to one person and the other get to the other. They believe simultaneously that she is on the brink of death from terminal illness that they can diagnose from seeing her cough. They also believe there's alien life extension technologies that she is hoarding from the public. So which is it? Does she have Martian health insurance? Or is she about to drop dead?
I don't know why you guys are mocking that part. I mean, I feel like we can support her, but we got to be true to the facts.
Yeah. And say what you will about Mars. I mean, everybody's coming. You know, single payer.
If they're not, show us the record.
Yeah. Well, they won't show us. They won't show us.
I would send people to Mars, 4 couples for 100 years, and see how healthy they are.
But in all seriousness, they're trying to hit those independents that are low information voters. And so some of them are going to go, I don't know, man, she seems unbalanced, I'm voting for Trump. Or some are going to say, their wives are going to say, hey, he seems unbalanced. They're going to say, yeah, well, she's got mental brain damage, I'm voting for Trump. And some are going to say, oh, she's going to get part of the elites and the lizard people and yada yada. It's going to work for different guys.
Yeah.
They're trying to hit, because their only hope, and it's a decent hope at this point, is that they convince enough low information voters. And this is exactly the kind of nonsense that those kind of voters sometimes eat up. They don't care about the minutia of your foreign policy on Crimea. They care about things that they heard from their buddies. Oh yeah, I heard she got brain damage.
I like that impression, but I think that these voters are Republicans. Correct. Like I don't think there's very few people that are actually undecided. And every time people are like, "Who votes for Trump?" It's like, well, the people that voted for him. I always thought he was a Republican primary. Why not? If I was Republican, I'd vote for Donald Trump. He's great.
Yeah,
he responds to every insult with like, "Well, you're gay." Or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't like Muslims. I wouldn't like Hispanic people. I would be homophobic, and I would think that the answer to all life's problems is just like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Done. So where in that range of what's left are people that, there might be people that they are so disgusted that they just say, fuck it, I'm not going to vote at all. But are there really that many people out there that are actually genuinely thumb on the scale, Hillary or Trump at this point?
Yes. I've read that like 10 to 20% of people say they're not sure.
Because you guys gotta remember it. No, you gotta remember it. They don't know any of the things we know. They know like 2% of what we know. This is our job. So I'm not trying to say we're better than them. I'm just saying this is what we do, right? We dissect the news. Okay, fine, we're a little better. Okay, but we dissect the news and we learn the news and we know all the minutia. Those guys have no fucking idea where Aleppo is. They don't give a shit about Aleppo. They don't care about any about it. They go, she's a broad, broad, so
that's a Republican.
Yeah.
That's a Republican.
No, but that's what I'm telling you, Michael. I talked to 2 guys who vote Democrat their whole lives. That's what they told me.
Okay.
So I did read a lot of stats on gender. During the primary. I read, this isn't everybody, but a lot of the people that Trump supposedly was bringing into the primary, these are people who don't vote. They are people who vote. They vote Republican in presidential elections. They just don't get engaged in the primary. But we will see.
I think his hope, if there is a hope for him, is that we as Democrats have, and clearly the DNC and all that entails, not just people who work there, but who they represent, just massively underestimated the extent of the dislike for her. And that's not all Republicans. It's like, and so there's some also us. That's right. They just didn't quite get how pervasive. And so when you hate her, dislike her that much, justified or not, and a lot of it is unjustified, then the first sign you can get, oh great, she's demented. Like, give me some reason.
I say Haiti and Honduras justified. Killed Vince Foster.
That's right.
That's because you're a sane, rational human being.
That's right.
Okay. All right, we got to take a break here. We're going to come back with the second hour. Everybody check out youtube.com/thinktank for John's show, and we'll be right back.
Well done. Kevin, over to you.
All right, Turks, thank you. And that'll do it, folks. For Clark, Greg, and Dose, and the rest of our terrific crew, this is Kevin Holland saying thanks for watching. And now time to send it over to the award-winning Ernie Johnson for the postgame show. The 2K Sports postgame show.
None of them do a scalp massage. And I went to the barber, and he wasn't open, and I'm like, oh, there's a Supercuts. And I was like, maybe they'll do a scalp massage, because that's the thing I enjoy.
Barber in Inglewood does not do scalp massage. We're supposed to get a scalp massage. What the hell is that? 2 white people on either side. And brown people. As soon as you mention scalp massage, I like to have the media look at Ben and be like, oh, he about to laugh, right? What is
You know, 3 with a 4.0 honor student growing up. And tonight, that high IQ
like, what is this new?
we saw on display with that sensation of the flow. Combine his small with the fact that he lives and breathes basketball, there's no doubt that he's one of the most intelligent players we have in this league. So, folks, that's it for us.
Lucky, my name is indecipherable. Right. My skin tone is fairly indecipherable. Right. I meld in wherever I go. The Italians in Jersey gave me the nod. Right. In Miami, the Cubans gave me the nod. Right. Here, the Persians. Again, the civil rights movement. I was invisible.
So right now I'm walking by Tim Robbins. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Just going to walk by, see if he notices me, see if he recognizes me. It's cool, like Tim, he's acting like he doesn't recognize or see me, like he doesn't notice me. It's all right. It's cool. A lot of people have recognized me. It's okay if Tim Robbins plays it cool. He is playing it cool. I'm going to walk this way. See, I'll give him a chance to recognize. Let's see if he notices me. Ready? Maybe he didn't notice me because, my head was turned. It's probably because my head was turned. You think it was because my head was turned? I think it was because my head was turned.
Alright, back on the Young Turks. Oh no, it's another power battle! Drop it! Oh, Kim Horcher joins the power battle! What is this? Host of Nerd Alert. I don't even know how they know that you were coming on, because did I say it? Maybe I said Diamondback writes, "Bring on the Queen of Nerds, Kim Orchard."
Someone new.
All right, that's awesome.
Someone new.
Linda Fisher writes in, "Just felt I need to tell you guys at TYT, how important what you do is to me, and thank you. You're definitely winning. Thank you, Linda. That's very sweet of you. Joe Oliver writes in, I can't stand how blunt Trump's ads are. It's like a fucking caveman is running for president. Like, so you guys remember that old skit, the SNL skit? But I'm just a caveman. I would know. The caveman lawyer that Phil Harvey used to do. I can see him in the debates doing that. I'm just a caveman running for president. I would know. Reefer Madness writes in, Louis Gohmert. That's the whole joke. Good. Thank
you for not reading one of the many tweets about how I'm just establishment fluffer for Hillary Clinton, and then also them getting their back forth the guy, and it's like, he's not, but I'm not here by accident, suggesting that you felt the need to have an establishment fluffer here. So I would say they're taking you down too.
Yeah, look, we shouldn't even get into this because we got a lot of stories to get into. But I could, like, during the break, I was talking about Bob Seska, a guy I used to like, we had on the shows. I mean, personally, I'm sure he's fine. He still have a beer. But he tweeted out the other day, he's among the uber Hillary supporters. If you criticize Hillary Clinton, that is that is the same as praising Donald Trump. No, but it's not. It's literally not. And that's a completely irrational thing to say. If you praise Barack Obama, that's the same as, supporting Mussolini. That's right. Well, no, those things are not connected.
Well, like Khomeini, though, because of the Muslim thing.
Oh, yeah.
But don't you think, and and again, I think but they don't, but I think whatever. Here comes the fluff. She looks great. She's so smart. Don't you think there is a reasonable school of thought? I don't know what his intent was behind that. I would never type anything like that in my life because there's so much legitimate criticism of her. The criticism has been there since 2003 at a bare minimum, right? That if you were caught up in Trump must be stopped. Therefore, for these next 60 days, criticism of her is in essence the same as praising Trump.
No, I don't believe that, not even 1%. And by the way, every day, my desire to stop Trump becomes more feverish. Like, if I can be on a bigger warpath against Trump, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find that warpath and I'm going to get on it. That doesn't mean I have to like Hillary Clinton. It just doesn't.
I also think it depends what platform you're on. Like, if you're talking on, like, independent media and you can have a broader conversation and there's not many people you have to dissuade from Trump, maybe if I'm hanging out on Meet the Press, I would fast track.
Right, it's Trump.
Yeah, I mean, there's legitimacy in that depending on what platform you're talking about.
That's a great point, Michael, because on Meet the Press, you're going to have 7 minutes. And how much of that 7 minutes of real estate do you want to use trying to do bullshit balance? Because this isn't balance. Trump is much, much worse than Hillary Clinton. But that doesn't make Hillary Clinton an angel. And for the people who think, oh, you're a sellout because you're going to vote for Hillary Clinton, every day I get closer to goddamn right I am, okay, not a sellout, but voting for Hillary Clinton, because, yes, there are two choices now. See, like, a couple of months ago, you could have made a case that maybe Jill Stein, if you give her a chance, but nobody gave her a chance more than us. We constantly interview her. We can't, like, Jimmy Dore's interviewed her, Jordan has interviewed her twice, I've interviewed her twice, but she's at 2%. So, okay, I didn't do that. She's at 2%. That's a reality. Yeah, that's right. So you're going to have to make a choice. And if you say, I don't give a shit, oh yeah, they're the same anyway, well, okay, that's where you are, and you're going to hate me for giving you that voice and whatever. But then when Trump does all the bad shit, then okay, then that's what you had it coming.
But then to Michael's excellent point, maybe, and I don't know, how do we pronounce Bob's last name?
I think it's Seska.
To his point, maybe he's talking about the more broader mainstream Meet the Press type forum. That's all.
Mm-hmm. You just can't say that, though.
I agree. You can't say that.
So that's why now I'm getting tremendous heat from both sides. How dare you ever say that you would ever vote for Hillary Clinton when she's clearly Beelzebub? And the other side saying, like, how dare you ever criticize the demigod Hillary Clinton? They're like, some of the Hillary Clinton.
Well, we don't want to get killed, guys. I mean, Hillary will literally murder us.
Yeah, right. I mean, like,
there's a quote from very famously made by George W. Bush and Anakin Skywalker. If you're not with us, you're against us.
That's exactly right. That's right. Well, we're not on either side of that equation. So if you are, go ahead and hate us. But I'm not going to switch on that.
Right. It's just there's context required in everything, and the problem is with Twitter, and that's really why I bring it up. It's so freaking hard on Twitter to deliver that context.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, I look forward
so you're saying like, oh, you're going to choose the lesser of two evils. Yes, I am, because that's the choice I have in the next 60 days. That is not the only choice we have in our lifetime. We worked super hard to make sure next time around that is not our choices. We worked super hard this time around to make sure those weren't our choices.
You're hunkered down. The evil insurgents, gunfighters, whatever you want to call it, they're hunting you down, right? They're coming. They're going to find you. The only way out is across a minefield.
Yeah.
You guys are going to vote for Jill Stein. I'm going to run across the minefield. I'm going to take a shot.
I know we need to move on, but I really will wonder when WikiLeaks releases how they got to us. You specifically. Carrying water for like that.
How who got to us?
The DNC.
Oh, Hillary.
Asian.
Yeah.
Day.
Okay. God, this is one last needless analogy. They've got us, whoever they are, the bad guys, and they've given us two choices. I'm going to cut off your pinky, or I'm going to cut off your head. I'm not going to make a choice between the lesser of two evils.
No.
Yeah, no, actually I am. Go ahead.
I prefer the neither cut option.
So, I prefer neither. I'll take Jill Stein. No, that's not your two choices right now. Okay, well, if you make that choice, we're going to cut both your head and your pinky. Okay, pinky. If you take the pinky.
If you choose neither, there's a 50% chance we're going to cut off your head.
Right. No, take the freaking pinky.
Take the pinky.
And I'll fight another day, and I'll come back and then kill you. Okay?
Right.
But for now, I cut the pinky, and we move on with our lives and fight another day.
Yeah, and by the way, and spend the next 4 years, I guarantee it, because we'll have these arguments then, and I'll spend 4 years enormously vicious to the Clinton administration. I guarantee it.
Well, wait till they get a load of me.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Sorry. Now, Kim, finally. Okay. Let's go forward.
We did it. Back in July, Playmate Danny Mathers set the internet on fire with a nude picture of someone else. And now she may face actual jail time for breaching privacy laws because of this. You may remember the photo that she posted on Snapchat. It's in the background there is a nude woman, and she looks shocked, and she's written a body-shaming comment. If I can't unsee this, then you can't either. The image has been censored here. Now the woman who is in the picture, allegedly in her 70s, has come forward and is willing to testify against Mathers. So, Mathers, on her own part, has apologized for this.
Oh, she's fine.
Saying,
She got she apologized.
Quote,
Go ahead, sorry.
I know that body shaming is wrong, and that's not what I'm about. That photo was supposed to be part of a personal conversation with a girlfriend, and because I am new to Snapchat, I really didn't realize I had posted it, and that's a huge mistake. So basically, I meant to post it, but I didn't want everyone to see it.
I just wanted to make fun of this poor woman to just my snarky model friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very nice.
That was just for us. Like, I don't want everyone to know I'm terrible, just my friends.
Yeah.
Well, but to be fair, like, real talk. I mean, you don't want, I certainly don't want all of my text messages and various exchanges sort of publicly released.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that's
obviously
fair.
what she did is totally, like, she's a complete asshole. She's a bad person. And I was kind of proud of myself for never having done anything as nasty as that. But principle, like, still applies. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't want to publicly expose it. She did publicly expose it, though, by not knowing what she was doing. So,
if you believe her on that.
yeah.
And I do, just because it seems so plainly obvious that making it public would generate the kind of reaction she received. Maybe
you really think so?
She's been on Snapchat before. Yeah. She's not completely brand new to this. I think
she had been on Snapchat.
Yeah, I mean, not like it wasn't like her first day on Snapchat. So I mean, that's an easy. It sounds like it could be an excuse.
Snapchat, the one did that one go away? Dissolve?
It dissolves away, but people can screenshot it, and keep it, which is what happened because we now have this evidence to follow us around.
Oh, so maybe she thought I can get away with it publicly because it's gonna go away.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people post things that aren't necessarily, perfect for their image, or maybe she thought she was being edgy. I don't know. It's all speculation.
Well, look, there's two different worlds, okay? There's the world of social media where everybody judges everything, and you have to be really, really careful. And then there's the private world where a lot of people are goofballs, and they think that stuff that's super offensive is really funny because they don't know anyone who is fill in the blank, who is black, or who's 70 years old, or who is this, or who is that, right? And so they love yeah, right? So there's a lot of that we're not exposed to in our liberal bubble here, right?
Well, we're also a changing room is, there's naked people there usually, but if you're not usually there, you think it's crazy that there's naked people all over the place and that I would be able to do this thing. But at the end of the day, it's a shitty thing to do. I mean, criticizing someone for trying to improve themselves.
No one's going to dispute that it's a shitty thing, whether she's trying to improve herself or not, or whether her doctor mandated that she has to go there.
It's her health.
Right? You can't take a picture of someone take a picture in a public place and point at them. Like that's pretty basic. You couldn't 50 years ago. You couldn't take that picture and then put it up at the local drugstore.
Although she sent a follow-up Snapchat of laughing like you just did, gang, I'd like tone it down 30%. Because that would be kind of funny if she was actually it was so on the nose.
So the issue then to me is does she deserve to now the latest
6 months
deserve prison? And I am I would say I lean jail locked up, freedom taken away. I lean a hard no on that.
Yeah, well, the guy who did it to Aaron Andrews, he got significant jail time.
Mm-hmm.
So context definitely matters. Okay, so my thoughts on this. One, I don't know what it is about the word body shaming, but it irritates me. I don't like that word. So, can we go back to calling people dicks? Like, it was a dick move. She shouldn't have done that, right? Like when you.
All right, then she did it with a dick move comment. If I have to see this again, whatever. But. All that aside.
It's like, okay, I felt like if somebody body shamed me, I'd be like, whatever, dude. Right? Like, but if somebody took a naked picture of me and put it up, I'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? Right? So, the body shaming to me is like, we're focusing on the wrong part.
Well, that's the criminal component of the case, though, is taking a nude picture.
Yeah, that's the privacy. That's the part that violates California privacy laws. The second part just comes off as, I'm an asshole.
Yeah, that's it. And so to me, taking a naked picture of someone and posting it online is pretty bad. So, like, calling someone fat, I don't care about at all. Okay.
What about shishman?
Shishman, go for it. Turkish word for fat. Something that perhaps I've been called in the past. Nobody's going to jail for that. I don't care that people are offended, yada, yada. I mean, you guys can care personally, go nuts and hate each other, but I don't know. So what do we do? What do we do when people take naked pictures of other people and put them online? Is that a thing we put people in jail for? I'm really on the fence. Like, jail's a pretty harsh thing. On the other hand, I really don't want people going around trying to be pervs and taking pictures of people and putting it online. It's just not.
Well, there is the idea that they're making an example of her because she is a public figure. She was a playmate. And there was a lot of internet backlash and furor over this. LA Fitness banned her for life for doing this.
That makes the ultimate punishment.
Yeah. No.
LA Fitness.
I banned myself from LA Fitness.
I was going to say that's a win for her.
Mm-hmm.
Is LA Fitness that's the equivalent of like New York? Like, is there one there? New York Sports Club or something like that?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not
different shame. Yeah, regardless. I mean, but if this was somebody like who, as you said, like did this in a more explicitly kind of like sexually perverted way, I don't think there'd be any doubt. That's right. Face some jail time.
So it does matter the extraneous part that's not technically in violation of law. You know, the I'm an asshole or I'm a perverted asshole.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys think that that's relevant here?
I don't know if it's relevant to the actual crime. Right?
Yeah.
This isn't the crime's violation.
In the public eye, it is, but otherwise, maybe not.
But it's funny that we're making we think that maybe there should be a little bit more protection for the dicks. For who are just being dicks and not being pervert dicks.
Right. Well, you don't get to go to prison for being unpleasant. And this may rise. This doesn't rise to the level of violation. It's clear a violation of privacy. Is prison time warranted for that violation of privacy? Ricky Kleiman, who we had on the show a couple times, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
She's CBS's news legal analyst. She says there's no question that by her own caption she intended to shame this woman, and that's the nub of the case. If it's the nub of the case, then she doesn't go to prison, to me. If that is really, because you can shame someone in America. it's terrible and you're unpleasant, and you get to be vilified by the world in response. There's no, I don't want to hear anybody saying, what about her First Amendment rights? So this is First Amendment in action. We are mocking Danny Mathers. But shaming someone, I can't shame you, and you can't send me to prison. Like that just doesn't.
Give her 20 days.
We think 20 days.
20 days. It's a nice solid number.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It should be out in 12.
Yeah, should be out in 12.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? Look, so you can give her. Maybe this is a compromise. You give her a Dinesh D'Souza type of sentence.
So got to debate you.
Yeah, gotta get your ass kicked by me. That's too harsh. Way too hard. All right. So D'Souza, when he violated campaign finance laws, and how he managed to violate campaign finance laws, which are nearly non-existent, is amazing. It's a different kind of dum-dum. Anyway, so what they did to him was, well, come on, you are white collar, you're one of us. So we're not going to give you real prison time. He would report on the weekends at night. So it was like a hotel, right? But he would have to show up to prison
to sleep.
To sleep. And he'd get all ready for it. He had a ritual. He'd just eat a Subway sandwich like he was a hardened guy. Like it's a bunk bed. You're going to sleep in a bunk bed in a incredibly low security jail, prison, whatever it was, right? So maybe you do like she goes to prison in a way like rich people do. So like, wow, that's at least she went to prison and community service and a giant fine.
Well, going back to like the part that is the nub, the shaming, the embarrassment part. Sorry, you hate shaming. That's going to hurt her reputation far more than I think 20 days in prison would, because she's done. The public does not like her now. They think she's an awful asshole, as we said earlier.
Yeah.
And there's no one doing that.
She'll have new fans though. The alt-right will love her.
Oh, definitely.
Like if she embraces it, she'll be their queen.
Yeah, like the law that she's going to get prosecuted under is the revenge porn law. Like so it really comes down to what the intent was, and I think intent does matter. But I wouldn't be comfortable putting her in prison. But I think she should be shamed. Like we can.
Yeah, that's it. We should see more naked pictures of her. That'll show her.
I reject that.
I don't agree with that. I would like to
Playboy
noted on all.
I know that's why.
Well, she is a Playboy playmate, so they're out there.
Right. Oh yeah. Anyway, good. So what do we do? What's our verdict? Does she go to jail? Like it's up to you. Do you send her to jail for any amount of time?
A little bit.
A little bit. Michael, jail.
20 days.
20 days.
Out of 12.
Dinesh,
weekend jail.
Weekend jail, and when she gets out, has to debate.
I vote no jail, but I've been eliminated. So she's going to probably 20 days, maybe 10 weekends.
It's amazing to be such a Hillary shell and not support this punishment of
That's
bodies.
true. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I didn't get the memo on that today.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. Small businesses have to work hard to get attention, especially online. To do that, one particular place, Miracle Mattress in San Antonio, made a very cute promo video making fun of the 2,996 people who perished in the 9/11 attacks. Let's take a look.
What better way to remember 9/11 than with a Twin Tower sale? Right now, you can get any size mattress for a twin price. Full mattress, twin price. Queen mattress, twin price. King mattress, twin price. Store-wide sale all day long. Oh my God! We'll never forget.
Oh well, neither will we now.
The "we'll never forget" is just like the cherry on top of this.
That's the best thing. It's really the equivalent of the last story we did.
That was the store manager, Charisse Bonanno, who said that, and who is somehow related to the manager of the store because he has the same last name, Mike Bonanno.
Hopefully not the Bonanno family.
Oh, right.
That's right.
Then we're
then in which case, if that's the case, love it. That's really good. Terrific ad. Well done.
I talked about Louis Gohmert in the last hour. This is like the commercial equivalent of him as a politician. It's just like, no.
But don't you feel like, to me, it's like Danny Mathers. It's like let's shoot this ad. Okay, haha. Now, obviously, now let's shoot the real ad.
Right.
Like they're just kidding around. And they're like, no, you ran that one.
So,
how did someone not say, guys, when we hit the mattresses and they fall down like the towers, a bit much.
Like that will never
we'll never forget.
mean to say in America.
All of those poor people and families whose lives were ruined forever. The store owner, Mike Bonanno, issued an apology via Facebook. He says, I say this unequivocally, with sincere regret. The video is tasteless and an affront to the men and women who lost their lives on 9/11. Furthermore, it disrespects the families who lost their loved ones and continue to struggle with the pain of this tragedy every day of their lives. I am disgusted such a video would have ever been conceived as a promotional tool, and even more incensed that it was created and posted on any social media site that represents Miracle Mattress.
Punching up for a mattress store, though. Yeah, like just in terms of getting into the news cycle, like
he just put the name in there.
Disrespect our, like firemen. I mean, why would it? It was like the Onion after 9/11. They did like the, like when all the brands put out like "We Stand with New York," and the Onion rewrote it as like Quaker Oats clarifies position on September 11th, like quieting speculation, like writing as if they're Pakistan, basically.
Right. Well, that leads to the question of, will it ever not be too soon to joke around about 9/11? So, and I don't think that's that hard a question. So that's what people are asking in regards to this commercial. Yeah, like if you're going to do it in a way that's public and you're trying to profit off of it, yeah, it's always too soon. So there are some things that are always too soon. Like you can't make a Holocaust ad where you're joking. I don't care that it's 70 years later. It's too soon.
What would a serious Holocaust ad for mattresses look like?
Well, it'd be something like terrible, like ovens or something.
Totally.
I'm giving an example of something terrible.
Right.
Oh man, we'll burn your old mattress.
No.
Oh no! My whole family's died.
Never again.
Never again. I don't have to read it.
So there was, not surprisingly, an overwhelmingly negative response on the Facebook page. Store owner Mike Bonanno says that they would determine an appropriate response to express their regret and support for the 9/11 victims and families. I sincerely hope it's not some kind of sales or capitalistic related to it.
The 9/11 blowout sale. I feel so bad. Like Mike Bonanno, it's assuming he had nothing to do with it, right? Like he really didn't know. He's like, you did what, right? But he owns the mattress store. They clearly, based on the budget of that, like it seems probably like a big deal that the owner of the store would look at the ads, right? Like they're not doing thousands of ads. But let's assume he didn't. Like he probably can't believe that. What is it, Miracle Mattress? Mm-hmm. Like that Miracle Mattress. I'm the owner of Miracle Mattress, and I'm writing a 9/11 apology.
Wait, do they have the same last name?
Yeah, they're somehow related. It may be.
Like it's gonna break up a right. Like idiot. I told my sister she'd screw up if I took her out of the store, but she made me.
That's such a next level.
When we for our fantasy football league with my friends, we try to think of funny names just to the Holocaust point. And like,
by the way, only Jews on the panel making those jokes.
Well, that's the thing. So in our fantasy football league, we had 14 guys at that point, and 12 of us were Jews, right? And so we thought we'd make everybody's name kind of a play on something to do with the Holocaust.
Oh no!
Wow!
Right? And the names were funny.
No.
And 4 or 5 of us started laughing our ass off at these names. I mean, just the worst possible things you could possibly imagine. Right? And I wrote them all in, and I put them all in, and I was really going to hit, and I'm at the point of hitting save. And you're like, we can't do it. We can't close it. We can make our little list, right? We can keep the list private.
You can't put it on CBS Sports.
I can't put it on CBS Sports, but I can't have people look it up and you're just like, yeah. No, we can't. This can't be done.
Because and so this is actually an interesting point about what is kosher, if you will.
Hey.
Behind the scenes, and amongst friends, and what is public. That's right. And so, if you're 12 Jewish friends, you make any jokes you like. That's right. And like my fantasy football league, has every race there is, right? White, black, Muslim, Jewish. Christian, whatever, everybody's in there, right? Indian, Asian, you name it. I mean, we somehow fit every nationality into the 12 spots.
Because it's Jersey based.
That's right, because it's based out of Jersey. So And yeah, internally we can make any goddamn joke we like because we've been friends for 40 years. We can get around about each other. But you can't make a mattress ad out of it.
No, you can't put it on television. You can't put it on the internet. You can't release it.
But then you accidentally hit the wrong button, and here we are.
Right, but that gets back to Danny Mathers, who we did the other video about. If she really meant to share that privately, right, and we don't know whether she's telling the truth or all, but if she really just meant to share it with a friend, it's a terrible thing to share with.
She might have had a plausible case. This ad, there's no way.
No, I'm saying right, but then in a sense, if we could determine that Danny Mathers really sent it with a friend, like maybe she was going back and forth with that friend, then I think we all feel slightly differently. Then we've just defended her, sort of, like where she's making a terrible joke to a friend, but hey, it just was supposed to be between them.
Yeah, context always matters. Okay, we're going to take a super quick break, and we're going to come back, and we still have my favorite story of the day, where I'm going to lay down new rules for the internet, I don't know, for the world. We're going to find out on what you're allowed to be offended about or not, and that is going to be, it's powerful. It's powerful. But everybody remember, the Fusion show starts on Monday. So,
what's the Fusion show?
So that's us going to college campuses all across the country. USC's the first one. That's on Monday. We're going to Harvard. We're going to Michigan. We're going to Miami-Dade. We're going to John Jay College. We're going to... Okay, wind up in Washington. Okay, we are actually. We're going to George Washington too. It's like, I love it because it's a crowd. Every time we've done a crowd, it's super high energy. These crowds are going to be much larger. So John and Anna are hosting. I'm going to be a guest on a lot of them, including the one on Monday. And so I check it out. I think it's going to be fantastic. So find out where Fusion is on your local cable. Fusion.net, by the way, to find out more about Fusion. And then and Monday at 8 o'clock. Don't miss it. That's right, Eastern. So it's going to be fantastic. Okay, when we come back, we still have the most controversial story of the day. Come right back. An article out in Politico quoting a dozen Democratic legislators who say, Bernie, come on, let's wind this thing down. They want to tell them, shush, don't criticize Hillary. Know your role. Your job is to energize all these people and then hand them over to us so that they can vote against Donald Trump and in favor of Hillary Clinton. Politico explains, Sanders has repeatedly dismissed Clinton supporters as part of the establishment, which Democratic senators interpret as showing disrespect for them. To which I say, goddamn right it is. You are the establishment. You have been for Hillary Clinton, who is clearly an establishment candidate. A lot of you have the same problems with those issues on trade, financial regulation, foreign policy. A lot of you voted for those wars. A lot of you want to let corporations do whatever they want in TPP and override our sovereignty and get rid of our environmental laws. And then, I'm sorry, do you feel disrespected? No. Here's the disrespect. The one that you show towards the voter. When you pretend to be progressive when you need their votes, and then you get in office, you go, it exists, and attach itself to Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders has a record of 40 years of honesty and fighting for those same principles. We know what Hillary Clinton's positions are. We know what Bernie Sanders' positions are. We know what your positions are. That's what drives you crazy. Alright, back on the Young Turks. We do a post game for you guys tonight, as always, for the members. We're not doing it, but Dave, Steve, those guys do. By the way, check out Aggressive Progressive if you remember. A new live one was shot yesterday. The members get all the Aggressive Progressives. That is Jimmy Dore and Steve O. That talks about progressive issues and how we've got to continue the fight. And I was on the first episode of that as well.
It was it's what the Young Turks used to be before you sold out.
Yeah, before I ruined it.
Right.
I'm going to say that Jimmy likes Hillary.
Well, that would be a wrong understanding. Okay, so members of the day, by the way, are Martin Howard and Rodolfo Ravello. So Martin and Rodolfo are members 1869 and 1870. What's next?
Well, we are going to be talking about the dairy industry. Major players in the United States dairy industry are going to pay up $52 million to settle an antitrust lawsuit accusing them of killing 500,000 cows to incite inflated milk costs. So this is a class action lawsuit that came together in 2011 on behalf of dairy consumers, i.e. people who consume milk, to set, let's see, sorry, I lost my place, against cooperatives working together, a trade group led by National Milk Producers Federation. They allegedly started something called a herd retirement program, in which dairy cows, and by retirement we mean death, dairy cows were killed prematurely in order to reduce the supply of raw milk and therefore drive up the costs of milk products. This collective says that it was not about increasing prices at all. You may believe that or you may not.
What was it about? No, just because we wanted to kill the cows.
Well, they said it was, and this is a quote, voluntary self-help farmer-funded program that allowed dairy farmers who wanted to stop farming to exit farming altogether.
Yeah, so they exited the cows in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it appears to me that there's two options here. One, it was market manipulation. Two, they have something against cows. Right? They're like, hey, I got a great idea. Let's come up with a plan just for, fun to kill 500,000 cows.
It's the reverse of the Chick-fil-A marketing with the cows that they eat chicken. No.
Yeah.
So it's not really clear exactly how much this drove up prices. But however, according to the Huffington Post, a 2009 analysis by Scott Brown of the University of Missouri-Columbia found that between 2004 and 2008, herd retirement added an average of 59 cents per 100 pounds of milk.
It's
just herd retirement.
Orwellian term.
Yeah. Which is
the milk industry, which actually did have a plan for mass animal murder. That's pretty heavy. And it is a really unethical industry.
But typically, retired cattle become cheap beef products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Mark Thompson, our vegan friend. He's taught me a little bit about veganism. As I've mentioned before, I got it. It's planted in my head, right? I ate beef today, so I'm not clearly thinking about it very hard. But one of the conversations that got me was like, well, what is your damn dairy beef, so to speak? Because they're alive, right? And then he pointed out how hideous it is for the dairy. It's worse. Everything's worse. Right? It's disgusting and it's worse. Then you'd rather be a beef cow and just get it over with. And so this just adds to it. Almond milk's not bad.
Yeah, I hear you. So look, I can't do veganism. So I'm sorry, I'm a bad person. I can't do it. I get two things out of this. One is capitalism. We got to be a little bit careful about it. I say all the time, I'm a capitalist. I believe in that it creates the right incentives and disincentives. But at the same time, capitalism usually leads to corporatism, and corporatism then wants to kill it, the free market, and which is exactly what they did here, by the way. And so it's like Oedipus. It immediately wants to kill its dad, which is capitalism. Corporatism does. So we got to be careful with these corporations. And so if people are like, no, they'll do the right thing. On which planet? So they're not designed to do the right thing. They're designed to maximize profit. So when they have a conversation and they're like, oh, should we massacre 500,000 cows? They're like, well, what do you think? Are we going to make 59 cents? Oh, we're going to make 59 cents extra? Well, of course we're going to massacre 500,000 cows. Where's the question? We have to maximize profit.
I don't know if I'm a capitalist 100%. And I feel like this is case study, 0.5 million at this point. And at the very least, you need to have really balanced sectors, government, capital, and the social sector. But it keeps getting eaten up by the corporate sector. So is that a feature or a bug? Well, first of all, let me defend Jake. He means what you're saying. No. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to put it in a more provocative way.
I like the way you explain anti-corporatism, because the beginning of that sounded like Yoda. When you're saying this leads to this and that leads to hate. I do want to point out that if you purchase any dairy product between 2003 and 2010 and live in the states of Arizona, California, District of Columbia, Kansas, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, Oregon, South Dakota, Tennessee, Vermont, West Virginia, or Wisconsin, you can file a claim on botmilk.com.
Wow. So what do we get? That's good. I'll file it.
It's not clear.
Yeah. So where do the cows file their claim?
In cow heaven?
Yeah. So which then, I think, leads to my second point, which is that I hope aliens don't so I'm going to borrow from, I'm going to say Louis Gohmert, which might make sense. But no, Louis C.K. And he had a great skit about this. He's absolutely right. He's like, you don't want the aliens to come. They're going to be way smarter than us. And think about how we treat other animals on the planet. Like, we're like, oh, cows, they don't have enough consciousness. We have greater consciousness than them. Let's kill, massacre 500,000 of them for 59 cents, right? When the aliens, who clearly have a little bit higher consciousness, they built the spaceship we couldn't build, land here, they might see us as ants. Or, God forbid, cows. They're like, how do we milk these things? Right? So, aliens, it's okay. Stay over there.
Or we could be the apex intelligent life and then set the standard for the rest of the universes and just be the worst. That's where I'm going with that.
All right, what's next?
All right, moving on. Moving on. A Bon Appetit video about the delicious Vietnamese soup pho has the outlet in hot, beefy water. They posted a video of Chef Tyler Aiken from Philadelphia restaurant Stock explaining the philosophy of pho and how to properly eat it. We do not have the video to show you because it was taken down due to overwhelmingly negative response. And there are a few different problems people had with the video. Some ranged from colonialistic attitudes, the idea of calling pho the new ramen, which intimates that there's only room for one Asian noodle soup to be supreme, and saying there's a right way to eat pho, generally attempting to handle the video in a post-racial way without sensitivity. It ranges all over the place. They apologized in a statement after taking down the video on Facebook. We believe in celebrating food from all cultures. We just want to eat and talk about food all the time. Moreover, we care deeply about supporting local and international food communities. At the same time, we never want to be a space that allows for harassing comments and threats towards chefs and restaurant owners. Ever. That's not what we're about, which is why we've taken down the video.
Yeah, so I have very strong opinions about this and prepare to get offended. But before I get to mine, so coincidentally, Kim happens to be half Vietnamese, half white. Perfect person to comment about
like they chose it because I was here.
No, total coincidence. By the way, this graphic, friend or foe, I find very offensive. Okay, so
by the way, it's pronounced pho.
You're so white. Okay, offended or not offended?
There's different reasons on here. I'm not offended by the idea that there's a way to eat pho. I mean, there's lots of different ways. According to my mother, like, it doesn't matter. Just eat it. Just if you like it this way, do it. Like, in the video, they were like, oh, don't put hoisin sauce and sriracha in the broth. And, like, traditionally, that's not what people do. But if you do it, fine. I don't care. It's your soup. It did, like, I understand the people, and we do have some quotes for them. I understand why people would be mad, because it is a little bit of Orientalism, ironically, Orientalism regarding Asian food, which is like, oh, well, this is the way we're showing it, and it does kind of speak from not the most, it wasn't handled that well. However, I'm not overwhelmingly offended. I just don't think it was the good thing to do.
I don't care, it's your soup. It shouldn't trend somewhere.
I thought the exact same thing. I don't care, it's your soup.
I don't care.
It sounds like it should mean something else. Right.
Yeah. I just thought really quick, because we do on Two Dope Boys in a podcast, we do brand F-Up of the week, where we review, a brand F-Up. It's self-explanatory. But the thing that just strikes me about this is, even though I agree that the response is over the top and, whatever, there's so many more just subtleties that you need to be aware of if you're even going to do a video like this in today's world. And that might be progress, it might not be, but it's reality. You can't just spin a video out like this anymore without thinking through like dozens of scenarios that are not normally going to occur to you.
I think that's a negative. I mean, I hear you.
Also, which do you think is the supreme Asian soup, by the way?
No, there doesn't need to be one. It's like sometimes black comics complain about this, where it's like they get to be the only black comic, but there's
Chris
like
Rock still.
5 other white comics who, oh, that's the fat one, that's the, that's the bald one, that's the short one, that's the tall one, and it's like, why do you get to be,
They're all Jewish.
why do you get to describe yourself with these adjectives, and I'm black, or I'm Asian,
A lot of people die.
Okay, so here's my strong and somewhat offensive thoughts on this. Okay, so look, some people think this is identity politics, etc. I hate that stuff. So I don't. So some right wingers are going to line up against the Asian guys because they're Asian and like, oh, whoa, what's the big deal, right? And I hate to be in their camp. But so I want to frame it in a different way. And so partly because I hate all the labels now, like politically correct. It's totally misunderstood, misapplied. Social justice warrior. It's just so stupid, right? It's like, first of all, social justice is a good thing. Yeah, I know you're using it in, I guess, an ironic way. And then Bill O'Reilly says secular humanist, like that's a bad thing. Like, oh, you're for the humans. So I hate all those labels, and I don't want to use any of them, right? But so I had to come up with my own because I think that people are being too thin-skinned about this, but then thin-skinned is not political, certainly not racial. So there are thin-skinned people on the left and on the right. So these guys appear to be, I guess, on the left, right? But then there's the thin-skinned people like Bill O'Reilly. Like if you say Happy Holidays to him, he's like, whoa, what is this, right?
He gets triggered.
Yeah, he gets triggered. By Happy Holidays. Somebody's trying to be a nice person to you, say Happy Holidays. Hey, why don't you say Merry Christmas? Well, I'm not. I'm Jewish, whatever. Hey, Yuda, say Merry Christmas. Like, Jesus Christ.
Or I'd be like, I said it to upset you like that.
Right.
Why I said it.
Right. So there's thin-skinned people on both sides. No question about it. I mean, the right claims that they're not thin-skinned and they hate the politically correct. Bullshit. Are you kidding me? They get triggered so easily. Oh, this is a war against the Christians. Now they won't even let us hate gay people anymore. I'm so triggered. Right. But I think this does fall into the thin-skinned thing. Like, okay, it's a white guy commenting about pho. So what? Okay.
Well, I think the problem was they didn't think he gave enough respect to it. I mean, there are people chefs who cook food that is not from their culture, and they handle it very respectfully. A lot of the issue was this guy didn't handle it respectfully.
So, Kim, that's the thing. You're right. That's why I'm in the thick-skinned category. And so I have to remember that not everybody thinks like I do. So I'm not, by definition, right. There's two different kinds of people. But for example, I'll use my own ethnicity. So if there was a white guy talking about kebabs, I could not give a fuck. The number of fucks I could give is infinitesimally low.
But Jake, which is the supreme Middle Eastern kebab?
Yeah.
There can only be one.
There can only be one.
Yeah, well now, wait a minute, now if you're talking about kebabs, are you minimizing gyros here? And I would be deeply offended if you are, because there are gyros and kebabs!
I'm trying to otherize gyros more than minimize.
Yeah, so, let white people talk about kebabs, and there's no Turkish rugs, there's only Turkish people. No, there's also Turkish rugs. And so what?
This strikes me as an attempt to be culturally sensitive, and I guess a failure at it, but the attempt was to be like,
post-racial.
You're right, to be post, here's a kind of food you might not know much about, and here's a way to enjoy it. Like, I don't know, man, I've said this many times, it's quoting my brother on it, you don't have a right not to be offended in this country. You really don't. You have no right. You get to be offended, and you can say something back lousy if you want, and you can try to offend me back. But there's a danger in being paranoid about offending people and worrying about a video when the intent is pure. And there's no suggestion the intent here is not pure. If people who know a lot about Vietnamese cooking and for whom that is an important part want to get in, as many people did, many commentators clearly their responses says here, we're lighthearted. If you want to go, hey man, there are a lot of ways to eat pho, and maybe you should mention some of the others. My hunch is that Bon Appetit would be like, great,
Would it be funny if this video actually came out though, and it was the most? He's like, all right, here's what the Orientals do.
Like we're like the like over the top. We're like he's just like,
This is why they stay so skinny.
he's like he's like he's got like makeup like Rooney and Breakfast. Doing an accent.
Antiquated.
I can't watch that movie.
That would be funny. as we're saying, it's not a big deal. We're like, ooh, when we see the video, we're like, oh, we didn't mean that, right? Okay, right to say that you're angry about that video, and Ben's got a right to say he's not angry about the video, and then you've got a right to say you hate Ben, and he's got a right to say he hates you, and round we go. And by the way, we try to see everything from different perspectives. So I really mean it when I say, just because we happen to be more thick-skinned, and partly because, I've gotten, 1 million, 10 million angry comments about me online, so if I didn't have thick skin, well, I wouldn't be here, right? So, but that's me, and everybody's not me. So I'm not trying to say that these guys are 100% wrong, they have a different perspective, but I am saying I totally disagree. So, like, one guy says, do they say that about spaghetti?
Well, because they're like, you have all kinds of spaghetti. That is regarding the number one best one.
Yeah, but now we're on it. Yeah, of course they say that about spaghetti. There's 1,000 conversations about which is the best spaghetti, and it's non-Italians who we're talking about. Nobody's like, oh, that guy was not Italian, and he's talking about spaghetti. It's cultural appropriation.
They were.
But it is. But that's
Moors, man. That's not cool. A lot of people die. Not cool.
A lot of people die. Okay, so guys, yes, America culturally appropriates things.
Yeah,
that's why it's awesome. So, like the Italians, the knuckleheads made the pizza without cheese. We had to fix it. We put a lot of mozzarella cheese on it and then pepperonis, and we're geniuses. So you bring in your culture, and then we take it and we smush it all together. And yes, sometimes the original food's a little better, but then but we came up with a pretty good thing. Don't you like? So I'm in the camp of just for God's sakes, calm down and let the white guy talk about pho and have his opinion on how to eat it. But I get it if you're like, hey, wait, I should be doing
North
that.
Korea has nukes, planet's burning, we're probably not going to survive. Just relax.
Right.
Enjoy it.
Hillary like the president. It's worse than all of us.
That's exactly right.
And it just seems to me, Kip, that here you have this. Here's an attempt, and there's a way to respond to it. Like, hey, man, like they would have not had them take the video down. Like, if they took the video down, like the comments were clearly really angry, as opposed to, hey, man, there's a lot of ways to make fun, And here's 7 more.
There's a traditional way, and there's like maybe a fusion way.
Right.
It's funny. Like, I was watching this BuzzFeed video, and it had Mexican parents and Mexican kids trying Taco Bell, and the Mexican kids were like, "This is a travesty. This is an insult to my heritage. This is disgusting. This in no way should be called a taco." And then we had the parents go like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's not great, but it's interesting."
Yeah.
What do you guys prefer, ramen or pho?
No.
No, I'm actually curious.
I like pho a lot better.
I like ramen, and I love Taco Bell. You know why? Because it's delicious.
Yeah. So why is ramen or pho why is that I know that they're saying it's offensive, but being a thick, I think is somewhat fitting.
I don't like that.
Okay. Instead of a thin, I'm a thick. I don't get it. Like, if someone asked me what's better, a kebab or a gyro, I'd answer that. I can't fathom being offended by that. But some are. And on the Taco Bell issue, look, I know what an authentic taco is like, but the problem is it uses corn tortilla, which I don't like. Okay, and it has real meat. I prefer ground beef. I like the crappy stuff.
Ground beef.
So give me a hard shell with ground beef. You know why?
Yes.
Because I'm an American.
Right. Exactly.
And that means that I love Mexican food. I like some of the authentic stuff. I like some of the fake stuff. I like authentic Chinese food. I like the fake Chinese food. I'm an American.
We won the world.
Come join us.
Now you took it just a little bit. We were
This
rolling.
guy's not on board.
Yeah, I wasn't on board with the whole run the world part.
We own the finish line.
We own the finish line.
Come on, America. Come on. Okay.
All right,
One last one.
All right. This is a fun one. There we go. Italy's Supreme Court has ruled that public masturbation is not a crime. This came after the case of a 69-year-old man identified only as PL was caught masturbating in Catania, a city on Sicily's east coast. And he was convicted in May of 2015 after he masturbated in front of students from the university. And according to the man was sentenced to 3 months in prison in order to pay a fine of about $3,600. That has since been overturned with a new ruling, and it's been sent back to the local courts to determine exactly what the administrative fine, which will be the punishment now, will be. It remains a criminal offense in basically everywhere else, public masturbation, where it does lead to a jail sentence.
Yeah, so this could have real world effect on me because I'm going to Italy over the summer. A relative is getting married. So now I forewarned. Okay,
ready, Italian.
Yeah.
We own the finish line.
Why did you have to say
I did not mean that I would be taking advantage of this law. I was worried that others would be taking advantage of it in front of us.
So it's fine as long as you don't do it in front of a minor. It's fine according to this court.
What do I know before I was?
But is it?
Okay, so what do we think? I mean, I being in it, I guess, having grown up in America and being slightly prudish because of that, I think, really? This is kosher? This is cool? Like, we're let it fly, right?
Check out how liberal I am, though. I had one thought about this that never occurred to me before I read the story. Which is like, I live in New York. There's a lot of homeless people. Where are they supposed to do their thing, man?
I wanted us to play that clip from the subway where the woman is like, "Get up! I don't care that it's not your stop. I will fuck you up.
Yeah.
I'm a crazy bitch."
Yeah, perfect for this.
I wanted to play that, but
yeah,
Get the fuck up! Get the fuck off this train!
Wait, okay. A guy masturbating on a New York
train.
subway.
Yes, that's
and
what.
a woman sitting next to him or across from him?
Across from
in
him,
the car.
just lit into him.
Oh, well, she speaks for me in that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now in Italy, they'd be like, "Have at it, Hoss."
As long as there are no minors.
Yeah. Now, like,
People always start traveling with kids. They can get you with
yeah, make sure they do that.
opposite attention.
Yeah.
How that sounds. They just don't want anything disgusting to happen.
Yes, they don't want any friendly fire incidents. So.
No. Well, here's my take. We have movements like Free the Nipple, let women breastfeed their children, and you can argue with that. Oh, that's not sexual. I don't think you can argue that masturbation is not sexual. And at the very least, it's a public health hazard.
Yeah, especially when guys do it.
Yep.
Yeah. On the other hand,
I think actually a woman would be far more elaborate for a public setting. It's all really disturbing. I guess I'm opposed to it.
Yeah.
You're making me discover my inner prude here.
That's interesting.
I have no problem discovering minor fruit. You can't do that, though.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I think, to be clear, they're saying decriminalize, because the guy's still going to get fined.
Yeah, and in fact, his fine is going to be more money than he would have saved the first
But he's not going to prison. However, if you do masturbate publicly in front of minors, you do face up to 4.5 years prison time.
Like, the fine, here's his new fine. He was fined $3,600, right? 3,200 euros, and now $3,600. But his new fine is going to be between $5,600 and $33,000. There's no way a guy who masturbates in public has $5,000 lying around to pay a fine.
Yeah.
Like,
otherwise, he'd have just gotten an Italian. Okay.
That's right.
That'd be awesome if he did. He's just like sitting there, like, oh yeah, I got this.
Fine $28,000 is rich.
He's rich public masturbator. Yeah, I got it, whatever.
Get back on the subway. So, but it is an interesting question. If you said there's no penalty at all, then I think we're all Americans, whatever, but we vote no. Like, no, you can't just go around town like, hey, how you doing? I own the finish line, right?
You said I own the finish line. That was another ring. That would be funny.
Yeah, that's true. That makes it a little better, I guess. On the other hand, if you say, all right, if you do that, we're going to find the living crap out of you because you're making all of us uncomfortable. It might be like a $25,000 fine, and you're going to think twice about owning the finish line the next time. Okay.
I am so glad.
Right. Okay. But but we're not going to put you in prison for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I kind of agree with the Italians, partly because you convinced me with the homeless point. Like, I don't, for that poor some bitch, what's he supposed
in their
to do?
case, they should have a public subsidy for their fines as well. New Bernie proposal.
That's right. That's a liberal position.
When I'm running on universal free access and public subsidies for homeless public masturbators.
There'll be shelters just for that.
You need a shelter.
But there's no way that we're missing the point because we're sending a guy to prison or not. Odds are this is going to be someone who you probably don't want to be sending to prison. Like it's
probably mentally disturbed.
Somebody who needs help.
Or Anthony Weedle.
Or on the other hand, perhaps.
Well, then he can find his way out.
Well, I mean, in a manner of speaking, right? Every day I thank God that I don't have six-pack. Because every one of those guys, Wiener, that's why he did it, man. They're like, he's got the six-pack, he's got the thing going on. He's like, who can I send this to?
He did it because it was very troubled Jewish upbringing.
You think that's why there's a lot of Jews who are not as troubled?
Oh, I know. Including like at this table. I'm just saying,
I am super interested in his mom.
What?
You and his mom? Totally.
Oh.
I mean, not.
We own the finish line.
You don't want to own the finish line.
No, I'm curious about their relationship.
You should see it. She's on Twitter, man. See it on Twitter.
Right into them DMs.
But yeah, I do know one thing. And Wiener read this and thought, ooh, maybe a little trip to Tuscany. Okay. I think
it's like running the show like this.
Yeah.
We respect him more at the end because he's just stick to his guns so much.
Wiener?
Like, and again.
Oh, you know what? That's it. I never thought about it. You know what he is? He's the tin cup of whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like this kid.
He's like, give me another one. Give me another one. Okay, give me another tweet. Okay, all right, here we go.
Ruined my political career, but I'm still married.
So we can keep going. Give me another one.
I still have visitation rights, but still.
Okay, well, anyway, now you know what's legal in Italy. So don't say you weren't warned. Yeah. So there's apparently. No, all right, I'm gonna leave it alone. I was gonna go with spaghetti jokes, but we're done with it. Okay. Kim Horcher. Everybody check out youtube.com/nerdalert. Yes!
I'm gesturing at my shirt, not my breasts.
There it is. Nerd alert! I will also now gesture towards my ample chest. TYT.
Yes.
Okay, shoptyt.com to get shirts like Kim's and mine. So go do that now, shoptyt.com. Of course, for membership, Bloomingdale's, okay, .net. And of course, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join, tytnetwork.com.
Obviously, you go to Bloomingdale's and pay $44 for a t-shirt.
2%. Yeah, I think that's high. Yeah, 1.5%. Over under is 1.5% that I do that. You know why? Because Wendy's there and she's like, "Oh, it looks good on you." I'm like, "No way!" I fight it. Finally, I'm like,
"We gotta get
another one."
I gotta get out of the store
because she owns the finish line.
Okay, and finally, don't forget Fusion. It starts on Monday. Everybody go find where Fusion is on your cable. And hopefully you're already watching it. And Monday at 8 o'clock, Young Turks on Fusion. It's going to be fantastic.
8 Eastern, isn't it 5 out here?
It's 8 Eastern. It's 8 Eastern.
So 5
Pacific if you want it. Pacific, I want to start a movement where we go Pacific first.
And you live in the real coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to win that one, Ben. Okay. Bye-bye.